Guys,
For a few seconds.
And we are up. Good morning.
all right, hello, and welcome to Breakfast and Dragons. If this is your first time joining us, typically what we do here is it's just a morning game for us where we are. We get together, drink some coffee, play some D&D, in our jammies on Saturday mornings. Um, so as we last left off, the party had discovered some horrible secrets within this ogre camp. But they just happen to want to clear out to save this local farming community. Upon attacking the camp in full force with an entire menagerie of animals, the party discovered that the ogre clan chieftain, happened to be a Shadow Oni. Um, Finding the remains of many of his victims, they decided to set a funeral pyre over the course of a day, gathering up all the bones and what they can. They have built this massive bonfire in the remains of the settlement. So we will join the party right now as night is falling. And as you guys can see on the map, I've edited the map some. Show the remains of the burnt huts and the funeral pyre that you stand in front of. So um, the night is yours.
Hmm.
So I think suffice to say that Hearth has been just deliberately at work, taking these remains, piling them, and having started this pyre. And I believe that Oliver was doing the same thing.
Yes. Oliver spent his afternoon and evening stacking of the bones and building as much kindling as possible. And whenever it gets to a point where he is free, he will start muttering and almost chanting in giant, almost like a funeral dirge. You are muted, Bill.
Okay. So, as you said, Oliver, just this deep, guttural, but somehow he makes it sound beautiful language, starts muttering a funeral chant beside these bones as they burn.
Hearth will also be speaking in ancient Arcadian, which Ben would understand and know. Prayers to the Everlight.
There's a kind of a cocked head looking over at you and then going back to Ben will probably have been rifling through the items that we have collected throughout the day, and in his notebook cataloging things, and then also have sketched out the symbol, the effigy that was there in the cave.
Larissa probably pulled out her notes from her bag and started adding what she found at the farm and then what she encountered here. Not really trying to draw a parallel, but just kind of trying to make a history of it so in case something comes up and she needs it again.
Oh no, we've lost the GM.
Oh no.
I do apologize. Technical difficulties on my end. That was weird.
That's okay.
For some reason, it switched me between computers and took me off the one that I had my headset on, so I was hearing you guys. And it kicked me over on the other computer. Very strange.
So,
Everything.
to Larissa, as I see you kind of going through all of your notes, there are the cult that the priest of Cord was mentioning
Mm-hmm.
is tied to this multi-eyed thing that Oliver and Killian had seen in a vision. But Hearth was here looking for the Shadow Tower, which means there is a split between the planes nearby. I wonder if the two are not connected. This creature, so deliberately revered by these ogres and the Shadow Oni, connected to this cult growing in the town. I do not think it is a coincidence.
Oh no, that makes sense to me. Only because not here, but when we first started journeying before we entered Dreamland, we encountered a place that had a thin veil between us and somewhere else, and
There are
a creature.
points like that all over the world, the planet. It is not uncommon.
Yeah, and a creature not quite like this, but just as ill intent had come to a place that was from New Arcadia.
I keep hearing about this new Arcadia. I'm going to have to see it one day. I doubt it will do much compared to the old.
I don't. From what I know, they're not what they used to be.
Something about an old grey beard ain't what they used to be. It's an old nursery rhyme. I feel like my accent has gotten different a little this week. I'm working on it. But there are too many coincidences here. I do not believe. I do not believe in coincidence.
This is just all things are connected eventually.
Speaking of, do you still want these? And Ben will take out his purple and ivory replica and summon his his ethereal chest and pull out a couple of books. This one I think we can still get some money for with the right people. And I pull out the Mirkwood Financial Ledger and the Mirkwood Promissory Notes with official signature. We found Homie's checkbook and signature.
Yes.
We can hang on to these. I can keep them in the chest, but I'm not sure what to do with them. Otherwise, it's not really my thing. But this one, I thought you might be more interested in your particular thoughts towards the church. And I hand you a book full of intake notes from patients from the asylum.
I'm gonna kind of pop it open and start looking through. Do I recognize any names, Bill, or?
If this is the, I'm trying to remember because it was a while back that you guys were in there.
This one was in the supervisor's office where all of our items were. It's not the individual notes. It's the like general notes about people who get checked in.
Mhm.
It you do find references to your two friends that are missing, to yourself, and several other um, patients that are mixed in among the lot of just the doctor that was heading over the asylum that was just notating everything that came in. And generally, what it was is these are obvious people and creatures of interest collected by the Church Eternal that he was blaming all of the magical abilities on mental disease and defect
Does it
and
have any?
delusions.
Does it have anything about the woman in the cell?
Um, roll me an investigation check with the book.
Uh, Tucked in the book are also all the loose leaf um, individual notes about us, the handouts that Bill gave us. Those are
Okay.
also tucked in the book.
I'm gonna use my last lucky on that. 'Cause,
Okay.
that's a 22.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Okay. So you find, of course, all the reports. The report on Roth, yourself, the inquisitorial report on Agent Sparrow, um, the report on Oliver.
There is Roth, Larissa,
Mhm.
Glitch, Furbolg, Davamar, Ben, Abigail. Oh no,
You
that's a
do,
different thing.
with a 22, you do come across a report that kind of sticks out. Unknown female arrived in simple clothes. Um, and I will make this handout available to all of you, sharing purposes. And Gabriel, if you can pull that up, then our viewers will be able to say the Alazif report. I'll go ahead and read it out. Are you going to read it out loud to everybody? If you do, I'll just read it out.
Um. Yes.
Uh, Mirkwood Sanatorium and Asylum, Heritage Human Unknown, Sex Female, Items None, arrived in simple clothes, doctor's observations. As my last reports informed, the subject known as Elazif Elazred has not changed since she checked herself in from Evernight. She has remained in her cell. She does not speak of what has forced her here, nor does she explain the drawings on the walls, only that they are looking for her. I believe these are manifest delusions as created to explain her magic talent. I'm aware she is affecting my memory as well as my staff's due to conflicting reports I've filled out and read later. Doctor's orders, she seemed to be nearing a breaking point. The delusions are repeating, with her announcing that they have found her and are coming. I do not wish to move her to Bastion, as this may halt any progress we have made. I will start recording my thoughts, as to avoid any tampering with my memory by her. Dr. West.
So can we assume that the they Hmm.
You can assume whatever you want.
Can I roll another investigation to see if I can connect what happened to us with this note, like the attack, the destruction um, of the sanitarium, us being chased off the island?
You can roll an investigation.
So that's another 22.
With
Nice.
what you saw at the sanitarium, the creatures attacking the staff, attacking your party, and several of them trying to get into the cell in which she's in. Don't know 100%, but it seems very likely they might have been after her.
Ben, did you recognize any of the symbols she was drawing?
Some, yes. They're, and with a clap of his hands and a pulling motion, he reaches through a cut in time and reality and pulls a book out. Some of them are familiar to symbols detailed in this book. Uh, and Ben like flips it open and points to a symbol like this one, but I don't know what it means yet. And as I close the book, like if you looked at the symbol, it almost like makes your head swim. But something about the writing in this, it will take some time to decipher, and I'm a little worried about delving too far into it unprepared. I would want to make sure I had all that I could possibly do prepared ahead of time before I opened my mind to such concepts. So,
It kind of, when I was looking at it, it kind of made me dizzy. Like, kind of feel like
yes,
I
I
was floating.
the the text in this book uh, was written by a magister from the old empire, the same one who made this ring. He how to word this? He was very good at seeing things that would come to be, but he probably lost his mind in the process. Hearth, have you heard of Magister Iban?
Hearth takes a moment and thinks and wonders to the great beyond of his memory if he has ever heard of Magister Adon.
We'll play it this way. Uh, with if you want to remember, let me know. If you want it to be one of the hazy memories, it's up to you.
I think I would like to play it as I remember something of the name. Is there any information I could convey in the moment?
Magister Ivan was very famous within ancient Arcadia. He was a practitioner um, of the arcane arts, and he was experimenting and reaching and pushing the arcane in new directions. And he had a talent that no one could mimic of a completely different way of creating magical items.
So Hearth will speak and say, the name is familiar, and the memories attached to it are of a magister with unique ability in crafting items and reaching through the known qualities of magic.
Yes, this ring that I wear is almost like condensed time into a physical material form. Uh, but this book is full of prophecies and potentials on how to view reality. I'm not entirely certain delving too far into this book without proper preparation. It could be dangerous. I don't want to unravel my mind any more than it already has. So, yeah.
You show prudence in this.
Not often, but I try.
Perhaps we shall find more clues along the way to help do the work of unraveling without you putting yourself at risk.
Uh, I don't know that that will be possible. Imagine trying to know things that cannot be known. Trying to um, understand what should be versus what might be or could be. The they are all contradictory and overlap. Uh,
It sounds a lot like life, my friend.
Indeed.
So, you see, kind of just start sketching a little bit, writing down the information that she found from like the book Ben gave her to her own notes, taking down important information or what she thinks is important information. Um, Bill, was there anything else in that book that would have been particular interest to the creature we just found, or
It's
to
it's
the
honestly
captain?
full. It's honestly full of information, but none of which is we don't even know if it's going to be valuable moment
Okay.
because
But there's nothing that will connect this island to anything that I knew was in the cell or anything I experienced in
this
the
book is
city.
just notes on the patients that were in the
Okay.
asylum.
Okay. So I'm gonna finish doing my notes. I'm going
The
to
only
oh
other thing that you find is in reference to the Providence Islands that you guys are on, um, is in the financial ledger occasional payments and shipments of well oil to the asylum. That's it, and an occasional food
and the
brought with the
occasion
You,
food.
uh,
Yeah, you're breaking up
ship.
real bad.
The occasional like food items and
Okay.
supplies brought in from the island. Other than that, there's no direct reference to peoples, persons, or anything on the island.
In the financial ledger itself, I'm not gonna like spend a lot of time looking at it because I want to get to the somewhere where I can like sit down and really look at it. But does when I'm like skimming through it, does anything stick out? Like to reference to the Vistani or um, to where we are now, besides the oil.
Other than the initial reports attached to your own um, entrance interviews, as it were, nothing.
So nothing in the financial ledger either.
I am perfectly happy just throwing it on the kindling. Anything we don't need. This uh, their checkbook may be useful to the right person. I don't know how to find that person, um, but I'm just as I make room for these, and I'm like shoving the random bits and pieces that we found around in there and like taking out some food and passing it around. I just only have so much room.
I'm gonna put them in my bag of holding.
Okay. So I will.
So, yeah.
Sanatorium notes, financial ledger, intake notes, promissory notes with official signature.
So, hold on. Promissory note with signature, and then the financial ledger.
Yeah, and I am removing these from my inventory as well.
Since this is technically the first time you've been on this island at night, awake, awakened from your long slumber, give me a perception check.
Uh, 14.
Over the course of you speaking and you looking into the fire and doing whatever rituals you're doing, you start noticing on the edges of the flames and just on the borders, the shadows of this island seem to almost elongate at strange times and move on their own, as if the shadows themselves have been given life at night.
Hearth is going to speak up to the group and say, is the behavior of the shadows here common knowledge to all of you at this point?
Unfortunately, as night falls in, they will come alive. Speaking of, I think I should prepare for us, yes.
Yes, I could.
Ben takes his staff, which you see at the end is kind of tapered to a point, and starts carving into the ground runes to begin the tiny hut spell.
And at that point, Killian wakes up. From his short rest he was taking while everybody was building the bonfire. Welcome, Derek.
Apologize for my tardiness.
It's okay.
Fine. We were just worried in this day and age. It was like, we can't be sure. Is he okay?
Yeah, thanks.
Did that part of Louisville just fall off the map?
It might. And it's the south side of Hikes Lane. You don't like. There's.
Yeah.
So Ben will just be working on the tiny hut spell. Oliver is finishing his funeral dirge and watching this just burn down.
We're gonna say that through the exhaustions of Killian using his spells and everything from the battles before, that he literally is just waking up. That way we don't have to recap him on what was just happening.
Yeah, sure.
So you'd get first watch, yes?
Smells like burning.
Eh.
What are we burning?
Bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so not the good kind of burning. Got it.
No. Here's some bread.
Thank you.
Give us now our nightly bread.
Yep.
What are we doing?
I was reading.
Do I need to take a watch? Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in fact it is. I think the next 4 hours are yours. Thank you so much for volunteering to take mine. I appreciate it.
I can assist.
It comes full circle.
I can assist.
I don't say shit.
What were you saying, Hearth?
Hearth says, I can assist in all of the watches.
I'm always watching.
As you say that, Hearth says a final prayer to the Everlight, and then finds a place that watches over a wide portion of the area with his back to a place. And as they go to sit down, Hearth also says, "Ah, you all look wounded." Once again, you see the energy swirl about. They walk around you, and we are going to do the Balm of Peace.
Nice.
Channel Divinity again, which is going to be some healing coming everyone's way.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. All right. Everyone will get 11 points of healing from just this Balm of Peace.
Oh,
What's
thank
it look
you.
like?
So the energy will be all of this kind of blue light you see vaguely inside the workings of Hearth begins to pour out, seep out, and move through the air and moving around you. Hearth begins to speak words to you. I wish all of you a good rest and know that you will be watched over by your friends. And once all of that is finished, Hearth will sit down. And you see the eyes go from a blue to a red, like a dim orange, like a dim flame, as Hearth sits motionless, but you're sensing that they are not asleep.
And as you settle in, I'm like, oh, I didn't know your model had a sentry mode. Wonderful.
Does this mean I still have to take a watch, or can I sleep?
Well, then Ben reaches into the chest, which is not been dismissed yet, and pulls out 2 more packets of incense. Well, I'm going to bring my friend back, and then I'm going to nap. So,
How many of those do you have? I feel like you're always producing those out of that chest.
I have.
If I remember correctly, you bought a bunch
I
from
I
the.
I can do this 7 more times.
That is a lot of incense.
Yes.
But you bought a bunch from the magic shop dealer
I bought
in
10.
Inksport.
Gotcha.
I bought 10. So Ben will spend the next 10 minutes bringing Tannen back.
Yeah, I need to do the same thing with Nyx. Well, the name escaped me for a moment.
So this very perturbed Sphinx, or not a Sphinx cat, but not a demon.
Savannah Cat.
Savannah cat appears within the circle and just stares at Ben.
I know. You don't look at me like that. What? Stop it. I know. I'm sorry. Really? Are you still giving? Fine, have it your way. And I snap, and he bamps out.
Familiar troubles?
Very familiar. Tannen and I have been together for a long time. He, most familiars are some sort of fae or other spirit you bring in. You bond with Tannen picked me. Tannen is a cat from Adu Ahalam, which is translates roughly from Arcadian to the Dreamlands. He is a Dreamlands cat. He
Is it?
pardon?
No, go ahead.
He's been my companion for a long time. He's kept me alive quite a bit at great cost to himself. And so I am responsible for him.
As soon as Ben says Dreamline Cat, I wonder what happened to Arcanus.
I believe Ahab said he would go find him, so I hope he is well. I'm going to take a nap. And
Where are you setting up the bubble tonight?
yeah, he had already done that at this point.
So
Where are you putting it?
Just right there.
why don't
Thinking the logic being the embers from the flames providing an additional light source and warmth at this point. Hopefully protecting us a bit from any encroaching shadows.
The 10-foot, right?
Yeah.
does everybody want me to take first watch so you can get as much rest as possible?
That would be lovely, actually. Why is it shrinking?
Oh, you guys can see that? That's neat. Usually when I'm editing stuff, you guys can't see it. So, that's 2 squares, that's 10 feet.
It is a 10-foot radius, so it is.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't think it's that small.
Yeah, it's 20 feet across.
My bad, it's early.
That's okay.
So, good. Otherwise, we're getting cozy.
Come here, Gideon.
I hope Tannen likes cuddles.
Tannen went home for the night because
Oh, right.
I pissed him off. Yeah. He'll be back in the morning.
Hey, there we go.
Cool.
And Oliver, after watching the flames burn down, comes back over. I think we did good. Settles down
You
himself.
gotta do the accent. You have to do the accent.
He did.
I was just. It was just a little subtle. I am trying not to go too far.
It's difficult because I could tell that you're like blending Ben and all.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I know. No, I
I'm
know
having
your
a
pain.
hard
You're
time
fine.
with Ben's accent this morning, so I'm trying not to make it worse.
Just to show my age, when he does the accent, it reminds me of Ren's cousin from Ren and Stimpy.
Mhm.
I am Ulrich, you are Spin. Just to show how old Bill is.
I remember Ren and Stimpy, but I don't remember that character.
Oh, get ready for GIFs and videos to be posted on our Discord.
Yeah.
Joy.
After that.
Ben, at this point, Ben is out cold.
Did you hand me one of those incense things?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool. So before I go to sleep, I'll do the same thing he did and bring Nyx back. If that's
Question
okay.
about tiny hut. What can the smoke leak? Or When he burns his incense, is he going to be hotboxing you guys?
No,
Oh,
it goes through.
oh yeah, and I'm being loud too, so like Ben's getting pissed at me. And...
But you notice that Ben sleeps straight through it. Like
Okay.
Ben had exhausted himself. Like he had no powers, no spells, no nothing. He was tapped.
Mhm. Burb.
Burb.
Hello, Burb.
So,
Squaw!
does everybody, nobody's resting. It's like feathers everywhere. It's like, so, Killian, if you're taking first watch, give me a perception check.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
taking first watch.
I'll do it with you. It's fine.
I have full consciousness while I am resting.
Yeah, you're
not-
just in your power down mode.
It's only creepy if you make it creepy. He's always watching.
It's creepy.
Dirty 20.
Okay. So, it goes uneventful, but as the fires burn throughout the night, it gives off a faint glow, thanks to the lighting effects from Astral now. If you guys notice that, there's a faint little glow.
I haven't had a chance to experiment with that yet.
It's fun. It's definitely fun. However, you do notice if you notice over here, like this fire has a glow on its own, within the lighting. But you, Larissa, and Killian notice movement just on the edge of the light.
So did you want me to make a perception check? I wasn't sure if we
Well,
decided.
Oh, I
just
thought you
me.
did.
I have
No,
not.
no, no. It was just me and Hearth, I think, that are awake because I told
Yeah.
them to get sleep so they can sleep the most.
18. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can make that for second watch. So don't worry about me. I'm asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my confusion.
You're good.
Mhm.
I heard something different. Larissa, you do know on the edge of the light something that kind of blends in with the shadows.
It's Batman.
I can't. Can I tell any type of like form? Like, is it humanoid?
It's yellow.
Yeah.
Bipedal and dog shaped.
Dog shaped. Are these the same, like, doggy shaped creatures from the sanitarium?
There were no doggy shaped creatures at the.
I thought there was like.
No, it was the previous night
Oh, previous night. That's right.
when they tried to
was the
get in
same.
my bubble and failed because rules.
Yeah. So these are the same creatures from last night. Or from the other night.
You notice, like, right on the edge of your sight, as it steps into the light, you see it.
Okay.
And where's Larissa?
Right.
Through your vision, you see it right at the edge of the light. And then as it goes back into the darkness, it completely vanishes.
Creepy.
Spoopy.
Not the greatest.
And it seems to be sniffing, and it eyes your bubble, which, as you know, the bubble should be merged into the background and not really visible, but continues sniffing the air, and over the course of your watch, you see it move. It seems to be the only one. See it over here.
Does it look to me like, does it look like it's trying to find a way in, or does it look like it's just
Doesn't come near your bubble.
so more like it's just checking it out, like, you know?
And as you start tracking its movement and guessing where it's going to pop out of the darkness and into the light, as it gets to about over to your right, you are scanning across to try to catch it, and you see a yellow-formed figure standing outside the bubble.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna whisper in my breath, be like, I already talked to you. I talked to you already today. What do you want?
And the porcelain mask just stares at you, and you get a good view of from the orange light coming off the fire. This figure of this emotionless porcelain mask with no eye socket. I mean, the eye sockets are just black, no semblance of eyes behind the mask, as it just stares at you, and it just slightly cocks its head as it talks to you, or you talk to it, and it leans forward at the edge of the bubble and looks at you.
I'm gonna kind of like try to test my own resolve and not like freak out and jump back, and just kind of like look and just be like, what do you want?
You see it takes its hands and it wipes over its eyes, and then takes two fingers
Mm-hmm.
and points at its eye sockets like this,
Okay.
and then points just over your shoulder.
I'm gonna try to look to see what he's looking at.
You see empty space.
At this point, hearing this conversation, Hearth is going to the
Should I
eyes
be
activate to a blue color again, and I'm going to look in the direction that Larissa is speaking to.
Arth sees nothing.
I trust your perceptions, my friend, but I do not see anything there.
No, I think this one just likes to mess with me.
As you turn back around from looking over your shoulder, gone.
He just trolled you. What's that?
Yeah. I'm gonna once again, like, as I was trying not to show what I was actually feeling, like stealing my resolve, trying to show that I was being strong, like the fear is actually gonna like take over me for a second, and then if Hearth is looking, you visibly just see her like start to shake, like just like quake in fear almost, and then
As that
try.
happens,
Larissa, are you wearing
Sorry,
your
I don't-
disguise?
No.
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt, Larissa, but as that is happening and Hearth sees this, you're going to see some words in Arcadian as Hearth moves their hand through the space. And you are going to have heroism cast on you as he walks over and touches you.
Kind of jumps just for a second.
And they say to you, "You are among friends. We shall lend our strength to you." And you are imbued with bravery and immune to being frightened, and you gain temporary hit points equal to, let's see, my spellcasting modifier, which is +3.
Okay. Thank you. I believe I brought this on myself, and I'm just not sure.
Well, at least you have learned what you have learned.
And I'm gonna finish my watch.
So, as your watch ends, and we go into Killian's, right? Gillian's
Sure.
next.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just we'll go through this really quick. Give me a perception check.
Can we use the one I used that I rolled earlier?
Yeah, sure. We won't waste that 18.
Cool.
Through the course of your night, unless you want to role play something with Hearth, you see the exact same thing. You see one of those shadow dogs popping in and out of the darkness, only visible whenever the direct firelight is on it. And it just seems to be trotting along, not really ignoring you guys, but just in kind of sniffing out the tribal camp, and then eventually gone, and you don't see it again.
Do I know anything about what type of this creature is? Like,
Um, roll me a nature check.
yeah, I can do that. Got half proficiency. Shit. It's a 6.
You have no idea. It looks like a dog, but it is not a dog.
Fell asleep on that part of the class.
Defense against
Okay.
the dark arts.
Yeah.
That's where I learned magic missile and fireball.
Defense against the dark arts.
Yeah.
Kept bumping into things in class.
I don't have anything off the top of my head that I wanted to say to Hearth. Would Hearth say anything to me?
Hearth is, aside from speaking up when Larissa was speaking to someone that they could not perceive, cast heroism, tried to soothe the fears, and goes back to being inert. However, you do note that you being more mechanically inclined than most would probably note that while Hearth is inert, they do not appear to be unconscious.
Cool. I'll just draw attention to the dog and make sure that you also perceive it and that you're aware of it. Basically, that's all I got.
Yep.
Sometime in the middle of the night, Ben bolts upright in a panic, as if from a nightmare, going, Tenant! Shit. And just lays back down.
Who's taking third watch? Who am I supposed to wake up?
Oliver.
Okay. I will wake up Oliver.
Thank you. And Oliver.
Oh, I let him know about the dog thing.
Okay. Oliver. Hey, dirty 20 for his perception.
Okay. Well, for the sake of brevity, we'll go ahead and move through unless you guys want to role play something tonight, because I kind of want to get you guys out of this camp.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Because you've been here 2 sessions. You don't experience any other strangeness throughout the night, through Oliver's watch, through Ben's watch, Hearth. You've been there the entire time. Other than Larissa talking to someone who's not there and the strange little shadow dog, there's really nothing other than being inside of an ogre camp that is smoldering embers at this point. So as morning comes, day breaks, and you guys pick up the pieces.
Bill, I'm gonna kind of look over my shoulder, like I'm gonna walk that way, just to see if I can see what the yellow-robed figure was looking at.
Okay. You, in the morning,
Yes, in the morning. Mm-hmm.
you don't find anything of interest.
Could you check for like humanoid like tracks or like footprints or anything like that.
Okay, I'm gonna look down and just see if I can see where it was, and then behind me, if I can see any type of like tracks or any type of like evidence that someone was there.
Roll an investigation check.
Mm-hmm. That's a 17.
You you don't really find anything other than this whole area is a mass of just ogre tracks, your own tracks, drag marks from pulling that leather piece from the cave, all the bones on top of it. Just can't decipher any other than your own tracks being on top of all this. Nothing sticking out.
So I imagine she's at this for like a minute or two. So
Yeah.
I rolled a perception to see if I would notice. So after, I don't know, about like 30 seconds of you like wandering around checking the tracks, I'm like, you looking for anything in particular?
It's going to sound really strange.
Well, it seems lately we deal in strange, so.
Ever since I've come back with Ben, I see every once in a while a yellow robed figure, and the last 2 times I saw it, I've decided to try at least to pretend to be brave and talk to it. And last night I asked what it wanted, and it like pointed at its eyes and then pointed this way, and I was wondering if it saw something or if it when I opened myself to this item, which was, like I said, I hadn't known much about magic at that time. It transferred me, not physically, but almost like a dream, to this yellow figure. And it saw me because it talked to me. And then as soon as it talked to me, I came right back. And it was like I woke up. I could remember it, but I hadn't seen it from that time until the time I went into the Dreamlands, and then I saw the yellow robes follow us. And then once we got back, whatever has been popping up randomly. And at first I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me because Ben had said something about the Dreamland doing weird things to you when you got back. But now I'm wondering if it's something else, because it's when I get brave enough to talk to it, it's not really talking to me, but it's showing me, or sometimes it's showing me what I'm asking it. So I don't know.
Killian he stares at you for like a solid 10 seconds in silence with his mouth kind of open. He's like, I was expecting a simpler answer than that, but okay, let's deal with that. Should we bring the rest of the party in on this? Is this something that's gonna bite us in the ass later?
I don't even know if it's real. But it is something maybe we could talk to them about. All I know is it's yellow, it's got a mask, and it's got no eyes.
Tell me more about this. What did you call it? The talisman. Was this tied to some kind of deity or some kind of otherworldly power?
Larissa tries to remember all the way back there, which means Trish is going to try to read her notes. Let's see. Hey, Bill, can I roll something? Because I know, I can't remember what day it was. It was like all the way back in 2019.
Yeah, that was forever ago.
Yeah. So I know that there was
like
one that
9
was
days
like,
ago.
yeah, I know there was one in like that was that Caltine took.
This talisman, you and your original party found it underneath a manor in the Valley of Fire called Thornbarrow Manor.
Called what Barrow Manor? Sorry.
Thornbarrow.
Okay.
It was being investigated by the Church Eternal. That was actually the first time you guys came into it. And now that you think about this moment, this is also the same time that apparently you killed the person that you come to know as Thomas Beckett. You found out later after he betrayed you and joined your party, you killed his lover, another soldier within the Church of Fire, Church of the Eternal Fire. But this talisman that was apparently they were looking for was what traveled with you guys for some time. Even a party member of yours that was with you at the time used it as a magical conduit to reconnect himself to the weave. After you wound up at the necropolis of Evernight, this is all backstory that happened before you guys even joined. After you showed up at the necropolis of Evernight, it was ended up taking a group of individuals appeared and took it from you.
Oh, and those were the ones that said that they were followers of. They were Blue Road.
They
right?
wore blue sashes, but they said that it was their job to collect relics such as this.
I know they said they followed somebody. I can't remember. And we never figured out what the medallion was actually tied to because they took it.
Yes.
Okay. So we were investigating something somewhere called the Thornbarrow Manor, and because it was being investigated by the church, so we were trying to figure out what the church wanted from there, and that's where we found it. It was a talisman, and I can't remember exactly what it was or what it looked like, but one of my party members, because he was interested in the arcane, now I would say he was overly interested in the arcane, used it as a magical conduit. And when on our way to Evernight, we were surprised by a group that wore blue sashes, and they said that they collected relics such as this to keep them away from the Church Eternal.
Is that something I wouldn't know anything about, Bill?
Roll a history check.
Natural 20.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
I paid attention in that class.
When she describes this item, this talisman, as it were, a lot of things flash through your head with a natural 20. One thing that you're taught within the Queen's College of Vandalheim is the identification of three ancient Arcadian artifacts, especially with your uncle, who believed that there was a civilization that predates the Dawn War.
Okay.
On this world. That was his, if you remember through us talking, that was his belief that is kind of shunned him through popularity within the college, that a lot of people see him as a pariah now because of his belief of this pre-culture, as it was. This talisman almost sounds like one of the items that he's talked about. You do know with a natural 20 that throughout history there was an order of knights that were wiped out at the end of the last Faithless War. It's big. They were enemies of the New Arcadian Empire for a long time. They were called the Knights of Order. Their whole task was the collection and requisition of artifacts that from ancient Arcadia, predating ancient Arcadia, that were tied to the 13 gods of chaos. These artifacts were vaulted away by this order of knights, but they were wiped out too. The legend has it they were wiped out to a man in the field of blood surrounding Tower Town at the end of the last Faithless War.
But that's so she's saying she's experienced these guys since then.
The only similarities between these guys she's describing, or this group that she's describing, and the Knights of Order, with yet again with a natural 20, the collection of artifacts that the collection of artifacts is similar to the Knights of Order, and the Knights of Order were known for their blue tabards.
Okay. So you relate this stuff to Killian, and he like sits up straighter, and he starts like looking around, like kind of like not like looking at anything, but like he's like examining his mind, and he's like, "All right, hear me out. This is gonna be a lot of information at once." And then I go into this like long and drawn out like nerdgasm about the Knights of Order and like the pre-Arcadian Empire, and like this is my shit. This is my like I nerd about this shit.
Right.
And so I go into this long drawn out explanation, and then the Arcadian Empire, when we were studying them, we found out that they had technologies that we couldn't explain, and that it came from something that made us suspect that there's something before Arcadia, and we've been searching for artifacts like that for my entire life, and we're pretty sure that it's tied to these Knights of Order because they gathered all those artifacts and they hid them, and we don't know when. And I go out for this for a solid like for probably like 2 or 3 minutes,
Well,
going into like a lot of like detail that is completely unnecessary.
But like because of who Larissa is and like her thirst for knowledge, she's just like intently listening to you, kind of like a kid is listening to like a story, just like whoa, 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 and then like tries to repeat it back to you, and then goes back and like okay, and then like kind of you see her kind of like get excited, and then she's like, but we kind of found something like that was pre-Arcadian, but that was
Something
bad.
other than this talisman?
Yeah, there was another talisman.
There's more. You found more than one pre-Arcadian artifact.
Yes, the who I now know as the Sparrow, who was portraying herself as a white lady, she took that because she said it was something of good, and so she kept that. She kept it close to her.
Just a correction. That was not a pre-Arcadian artifact.
Oh, okay. So that was just
that was post-Arcadian. That was just from the time of magic. But
okay.
keep that in mind. We've been asked to go on a break real quick just to resolve some technical issues. So we're going to go ahead and take our 5-minute morning break that we normally do, and we'll be right back, all you viewers. So love you guys. We'll be back in a minute.
Cool.
And we are live again. Thank you everyone for being patient with our technical issues with Discord being Discord this morning. And here we are.
We took our technical guy outside, tased him, we're good.
Yeah. Woohoo!
He's awake
Thank
now.
you, Tiffers. So quick question for the DM. While Larissa...
42.
Okay, checks out. While Larissa is like pointing off this direction, like, you know, I saw him over here, he pointed over here. What geographical direction is that? Like, is that towards a landmark we're aware of, or does it just appear to be a direction?
It just... I'm trying to think.
I'm happy to roll for it.
Not really, it's pointing more up into the mountain.
Okay.
Where we just came from?
Or further.
You guys came from Sorrowbend down in the valley. But it's pointing more up, and he was pointing more, if you're following his direction up, pointing more up into the mountains.
So, your hitchhiker friend was pointing up that way? Into the mountains? Isn't there some sort of monastery up that way?
Yes, I believe they did tell us there was a monastery up that way. I didn't know. I don't think we were planning to go that way. I thought we were planning to go to the other side. Caves.
So I guess this is as good a time as any to have this discussion. What are we doing next? Oliver, point over, I really wanted to come here and take care of this issue, protect the people, so we've done that. I'm particularly concerned about the hag feeding on the emotions of the people in the town. I am very worried about this creature with many eyes. That's never good. Two is plenty. And I am worried that this friend of yours was pointing further into the mountains. Is that... we don't have a map, but that was where the monastery was, and then the giants as well.
Monastery? What monastery are you talking about?
They referred to it as the Dust Monastery.
Oh.
We don't know much more than that. There were people that lived there, but I think I remember cannibals in the conversation.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah,
There's
always.
harpies somewhere.
Existential dread or harpies? Nah.
Herpes.
No. Shh.
No.
Shh.
No.
Um,
Okay. Monastery. Possible giants. Maybe not a lot of information.
Well, so listen, we can all agree that there's something else bigger going on here, something that we don't have the full picture of.
agreed.
What we think it's tied to ancient Arcadia or the fall of ancient Arcadia. At least that's what I'm thinking at this point.
I agree.
Where can we go? What can we investigate to put this picture more in place?
There are ruins.
If I could,
Sorry, go ahead, Hearth.
I would seek to find the location that I originally set out many ages ago. Whatever we can find, it would be the Shadow Tower.
There are a series of ruins, mostly underground from what we were told. And then there's this monastery, which is ancient. But beyond that, I don't really know.
As far as I know, those ruins have already been searched and studied, but I suppose it's as good a place to start as any.
So do we go to the ruins or do we go to the monastery?
Well,
I
Ben said one word that makes me a little uncomfortable about the monastery, and that's cannibalism. So
That might find young cannibals.
Ben's gonna reach in his coat and pull out the deck of cards that he bought in Kingsport and just starts shuffling it and aimlessly draw a card.
we can't see it. Your background's just obscuring it.
I put it in front of your face.
Oh,
Better.
Okay. What is the card?
It's the monk.
Okay.
I literally just drew this randomly.
That's fucking weird.
So I'm working on a spell, some divination, but it's still really rough.
But much like a tarot card deck, is that a warning or a clue?
Right.
Well, it was not inverted, so I don't know. Maybe we let fate take it.
So
We are
head
closer to that. We don't know exactly where it is, but we are. The ruins were on the far southwestern tip of the island, from what we were told. So we have to venture back through Sorrowbend, through Kingsport, and then travel 2 days more that way. It seems to me
Has
like we're
anybody-
already over here.
Has anybody been keeping track of how long we've been on this island?
Yes.
Okay.
We just finished day 7, so we are in day 8 now.
Okay.
Let me quadruple check that, because I have been keeping track.
Okay. I don't want to be stuck.
Yeah, for sure.
I have been on this island for approximately 365,000 days.
More than that. You should check your chronometer. Sorry, we're in day 9. No. I was correct. Day 8. We just started day 8.
Day 8. Okay. So do we follow? We're like Ben said, we're closer to the monastery.
Fine. Cannibals it is.
I mean, we don't know what we're gonna find in the ruins. It might be like the mama of, the multiple eye thing.
None of this is good, let's be honest. But I literally just shuffled the deck and drew the monk.
I'm not sure I believe in your omen, but we'll head that way.
And yet you believe the imaginary man in yellow you look... Speaking of which, and Ben reaches back into the chest, which he has yet to dismiss, and pulls out a small, strange, multi-faced statue. You left this in the Dreamlands. I don't know if you meant to. You dropped it when we were exploring the caverns. I just keep forgetting to give it back to you.
That's my yellow robe figure, right, Bill?
One you got from the Tuatoa beneath
This is the statue that you opened your mind to.
I'm wondering if this is why the yellow robe figure is following us, because that's who I saw and why I dropped it.
Well, it's been in the ethereal plane. Which maybe, I guess, but What would you like me to do with it? It just hasn't come up in conversation before. I can put it back. I can throw it in the ocean. Doesn't matter to me.
I don't know much about idols. If we destroy it, would the yellow robe figure go?
And this is the kind of obsidian stone,
Mm.
and it is inert. It is stone. I don't. It is not magical in its own way. But as our new companion here will tell you, symbols have significance.
Mm.
Do you want this, or I will throw it in the ocean if you wish. It does not matter to me.
Just because I am fearful if I do something to it, I might make the yellow robe figure.
Imaginary man.
Yeah, I'm gonna snatch it and be like, "You don't have to keep this anymore," and I'm gonna throw it in my bag of holding.
Ah, wonderful. That's a whole square 8 inches freed up. Wonderful. Been carrying that in my inventory for a while.
Just dropped it to leave it there, and then just
And
okay.
Ben thought you accidentally dropped it.
It's all good. All good. So,
So, where are we going, friends? We should probably decide this.
I'm okay with going to the monastery, but let's follow your card. There are many mysterious things in this world, and the next, and the next.
And the next.
Mm-hmm.
Killian? Hearth? Oliver?
I want to see this through, and I think sticking with you guys is the best way to do that. So whatever you,
I
however you decide.
I imagine eventually you'll go back to Vandelheim. I very much wish to go see what is left of the Empire. Or what has grown up in its place.
I mean, yes, eventually that is my goal, but we're not leaving here anytime soon. We might as well make our time useful here.
Hearth?
It seems to me there are mysteries that could be delved into at the monastery. My time frame has been greatly cast to the winds. And I think wherever I decide to go at this point will give me some acclimation to this new world I find myself in.
Do you remember or have a schematic of some sort of the actual layout of the island when the tower stood? Where roughly on the island the tower was?
Can I search my own memory, Bill?
Yeah, give me a history check.
Great. That is a 10.
And given that you don't really know where you are right now on the island,
Mm-hmm.
but you do know roughly it was in the southern portion of the island.
Our destination was to the south.
Oh, interesting. That leads towards the ruins, which would be the opposite direction. And while we're talking, Oliver, kind of looking around, contemplative, reaches in his pouch and pulls out a handful of bones and casts them, rolling a 23 on his deeper scent bill. And will briefly seek out the spirit of his ancestors to look to see what's around him and or for an inclination of which direction to go.
As I've been explaining, with when he rolls the bones, he feels kind of a very primitive hunter's pull. He does sense in as Oliver looks to the mountain, and as you see the artwork, the foreboding peaks of the mountain above you, sense of danger, sense of being hunted, and he looks to the southern reaches in a sense of mystery and discovery.
How would he word this? I think up there is danger. And death.
You talking to your ghost friends again?
Yes.
Well, they've been rather reliable in the past, so if Oliver says north is danger, then I say we stick to the south.
Then maybe the card was a warning. I do want to see the ruins.
Well, let's head that way.
You know, if the kobolds are there again, perhaps we can parlay once again.
Hey, Bill, just for me, like, was Ben, like, laying that way behind me?
No.
Okay. Well, maybe it was looking at the statue. Okay.
Tannen pops back in and looks at Ben and just stone cold stares him, and Ben loses the staring competition. And okay. And Ben starts walking off, and Tannen just daggers in his back.
I'm gonna try to, like...
Getting that right now from our cat because we're putting him on a diet.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bend down to Tannen and be like, try to, like, can I give you scratches? Like, hold my hand up to see if he comes to it.
He bonks your hand.
Like, give him scratches and be like, I know. We'll be more careful with you. And I'll walk away.
So, as you guys finally leave this orc camp, what is the direction the party is headed?
We're going to the ruin.
Back the way we came.
Yeah.
Down through Saraben, Kingsport, and towards the ruins.
So give me... Who is going to helm this journey as you walk through the woods away from this camp?
Oliver will...
Who wants to help him? If anybody wants to help him.
I could try.
Hearth is decent at survival, so...
So, Brandon, since you're new to this, how I do group checks like this is a little mechanic I was reading up on. If you're going to assist, roll your skill, and if you beat above a 10, you give them advantage. If you get below, they just roll normal.
Okay. $15.
Okay.
All right.
Ooh, rough. 11. I rolled a pair of 6s, so.
11. So as you guys early in the morning are exiting out of this camp, entering into the woods with an 11 rolled, I'll
That
let
was
you
with
guys.
advantage?
I rolled a pair of 6s.
I've rolled double ones on advantage with a character before. You're talking about hurtful.
Yeah. And I didn't even do it with my character. That's the worst part.
I need a. You guys decide who rolls. One of you. Roll a d20.
I got it. Oh, shit. No, I don't have my dice thrower in the other room. I lied.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay.
Oh my god. That one.
That might not be a bad thing. It might just be like a table or something. We'll see.
We are on a roll, y'all. We've gotten so much done.
So, as you're traveling through these woods for a time. Oh, audio. So, as you're traveling through these woods, you eventually.
When you moved the party over, there's this little like burning flame that came with us.
Yeah, that was Brandon's
His
spiritual weapon
yeah,
that I've been working on.
it's cool.
So, rebels. There we go. I had to pull up the forest scene. This is my travel map with all of the travel artwork. So, as you are coming through the forest, which looks like a door, you eventually start hearing this noise, Oliver. This.
Is anybody else not
like
hearing?
a sound of a
No,
whetstone
okay.
kind of thing?
Like nobody was hearing me when I was making that noise. I wonder if
No.
Your mic wasn't picking it up.
Oh, interesting. I got it on the highest sensitivity. So I'll probably be louder. It's just
I think if they're noise canceling, I think it's thinking it's not a voice and it's canceling it out.
The frequency. It's a frequency that it's
Yeah.
not.
so.
So
They'll-
does
they'll
it sound like
cancel.
grinding?
No, more of like shaving wood.
Okay.
Or like,
There is something out there. And
There.
there. Bear! There's Oliver will bring a halt to the group, and I think we should be careful. And can any of us see anything at this point, or?
As it's a bright day in a forest. The sun's peeking through the canopy. It's very lovely, very comforting on this island with a temperate forest such as this. But as you guys are coming through, you start edging on the near of a small clearing where you see the source of this noise. You see an individual sitting on a fallen tree. The tree's fallen at an angle into the center of this clearing. And you see this man, his back's to you, and he has a long piece of thin wood and this knife, and he's just shaving the limbs off of it. And you see a furry creature sitting behind him on the other side of the log that kind of perks its head up as you come by, and you see this white dog. Just this wolf-like dog just look at you. Kind of does a... Pick that up because I hurt myself.
How close are we?
Given that you rolled an 11, you got up on him pretty fast.
Okay. Has he noticed us?
The dog has. Killian, you notice without even with your passive perception, sitting on his back is sitting on the log. His back's to you. You see the dog, and you see a musket leaning up against the side of the log next to him as he's shaving down this piece of wood.
Okay. We're too close at this point. I'll just call out. Ho there, woodsman.
When I hear him say, "Oh there, woodsman," I try very quickly to use my hat and look like just a human version of me.
He stops shaving the twigs off of this, and you see him he doesn't turn around. He sets the limb to the side, and he kind of stabs the knife into the log, and his hand sets beside the musket, and he doesn't turn around, but you hear him say, "Friend or foe?"
We don't mean you no harm. We don't want no trouble.
Leg up over the log, and he's kind of straddling it this time. You see an older gentleman starting to get the silver in his beard. He has a old leather eye patch over one eye. He looks forward and he says, kind of peers into the clearing. He goes, 5 of you, huh?
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to remember how many people are in our party.
Aside from the familiar, yes.
Plus a few furry friends.
Yes. I don't really acknowledge him saying that. I just say, you're a long way from Sorrowbin, friend. It's dangerous in these here woods.
Kind of looks. He says, "You deal with those crazy people? I don't go anywhere near Sorrowbin."
Whereabouts are you from then?
I go where I need to. Why don't you all 5 step out so I can see you?
5 step out.
Then it's not concealed.
Yeah,
No.
that's fine.
Stab.
Like I said, we don't mean you any harm. We're just passing through.
Tannen is a solid 10 feet behind Ben. Hasn't gotten any closer.
What are you guys doing so far in the ogre country?
Taking care of that particular problem.
Yeah, we. I guess you could say we were employed to take care of that problem. They've been causing trouble for folks that live here around these lands.
It's this general look of confusion when you say that. General confusion. Who would hire you to do that?
Derek is not remembering. Who asked us to look into this, or did we just say we wanted to?
We took it upon ourselves.
What was the name of the guy that we saw before we left town? That had like the different little like apprentices and stuff like that.
The ogre or the orc.
It was Bert.
Do we have a first and last name?
Just Bert.
Just
Bert Bacharach. I love it.
What did he do? What did Burt Bacharach do? What type of music?
Oh, just like easy
kind of
listening, like
yeah,
lounge.
like kind of crooning, yeah.
Good.
Anyway, so I'll. What was Bert's profession? Was he a woodsman as well, or?
Bert owned a ranch. He was a rancher in Sorrowbin.
Okay.
Greenskin Ranch. He was a ogre that, as far as you know, was sitting in a wheelchair.
He was not an ogre. He was a what?
Orc.
Sorry, orc.
Okay. It was so I'll use him. I'll say it was a rancher by the name of Bert. and then I'll repeat the name of the ranch. What was it? Green
Great again.
Okay, Greenskin Ranch. I'll repeat that name.
That look of confusion stays, and I'm surprised anyone, those apathetic assholes in Sorrow Bend's, going to send anybody after these ogres. They're just in there. They're happy to lose half their population every season to these damn ogres, and say it's just it's no big deal. We lose about 8 or 10 people a year, and they just let them go. And
Wow, well, he is opinionated. Well, let's just say that won't be happening anymore.
yeah, I'm happy someone did that.
Hope you have safe travels yourself. I did want to warn you.
We can see what you're Googling.
Yeah, my bad. wrong tab.
Catch him before he looks up something bad.
No.
Big butt.
Ogre in a wheelchair.
No. Wrong tab. My bad, y'all.
Dude, it's fine. That's hilarious, though.
I had no idea.
I just see Google pop up. I'm like, no, Gabe, no.
Lyrics to Call Me Maybe, Carly.
Not calling this guy. Well,
Yeah.
you have a nice day.
No, I did want to warn you. Camping out last night, there was some kind of I don't know, some kind of dog. It was. I do my best to describe like the shadow dog that we saw last night.
He kind of nods his head, and you see him go back. He picks up the stick, and he's like starts shaping it. Nods his head. He goes, "Oh, you'll come across those. Nighttime on this island's kind of interesting."
We're not from here. Any information you can give us about them might help us in the future, if you don't mind.
Oh, he kind of looks at the stick in his hand. He goes, "I'm gonna be here a minute, but sure. What do you need to know?"
No, I was just specifically. I was asking about those dogs.
We just call them the night howlers or the night hounds. They just. No one knows where they come from, but they're just around. You know?
Are they aggressive?
Oh, highly. Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't attacked you yet. What? How many times you say you seen them?
Well, as far as I know, just last night. But
At least twice.
Oh, they got your scent.
so should we be concerned, or is it just something we have to worry about as long as we're away from a city?
He kind of looks, and he looks at your pistols, looks at the sword on Oliver's back. Oh, looks like you can take care of yourselves. And
I hope so.
That quiet fella you got right there, he's got the nicest armor I've ever seen.
He's talking about Hearth. Yeah,
Yes.
It almost looks like it's part of his body. Sorry, go ahead, Hearth.
No. Hearth just says, an heirloom from those who came before me.
Yeah, I got gout, and I got that from my dad, I think.
Okay, you have a good day, and we're going to be on our way. Safe travels.
You asked me a couple questions. I'll ask you one. Have you guys seen a small furry creature with 6 legs? Looks like a golden ferret.
Have we? No, I don't think so.
No.
I can assure you.
Nothing small, that's for sure.
Is he fucking with us? Is he making shit up?
The only thing we've seen with 6 legs was the... No, bullets don't have 6 legs, do they? They have 4.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No.
And goes to describe. He's like, it's a fuzzy little rodent-like creature, about yay long, about yay big around. It's got 6 fuzzy pawed legs, and they're really rare. And you would know it because they crave gold. They'll sniff it out. They're
What?
hungry for it.
What? And I was just like, look at him and be like,
There will be a British man with a bow tie chasing him.
are you saying that there's one of those around here?
Yeah, it's called I don't know. I know what my daddy called it. He called it a gold sniffer, but I think so. Some learned guy that knows more words than he does sense told me once that it's called a broom barak.
Have I heard of this thing, and do I know that it actually does exist, or is he making shit up?
roll a nature check.
Okay. Not great at that. Oh, but I rolled really well. 22.
They're rare, extremely rare, but they do exist.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those. I've never seen one, but heard of them.
I'll keep my eyes on them and be like, I have not seen it, but I will be sure to keep my eye out for it.
I'll be honest, it's the whole reason I'm on this island and I'm in these woods. Is I hear that some of them's been spotted on this island. Tell you what, those things are like pigs with truffles when it comes to gold veins.
Do they eat the gold?
Yeah, they can sniff it out. They can sniff out a vein of gold in a mountain from a mile away.
Yeah, but do they eat it?
Yeah,
Why would you want one of these creatures?
because they can sniff out gold, boy.
Yeah, but then they're gonna eat it.
They don't.
Yeah, well, you keep them from doing that. You don't let the pig eat the truffle.
Your Tennessee's coming out, Bill.
Where do you think I got this character?
Yeah. From Grandma's farm. Well, if we see one, what is your name?
Travis Warren. They in Kingsport. I don't hang out there very long, but I come in there for supplies.
Well, if we have any sightings, we will leave word for you.
Tell you what, if you find one and you catch it, we'll work something out.
Just so curiosity.
Alive. What?
Noted.
Have you tried trapping it yet?
I've tried. These things are smart. I swear, I've tracked one for about a week now, and it's been playing with me.
You've tracked it around.
How do you
here.
spell it, Bill?
A Varoom Barak?
Varoom, gotcha.
It's called a Room Barak.
Put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take notes, and it's my. Right now, it's a vroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vroom vroom.
A room.
Wait till you see this word. You're gonna be you would have never gotten it. This
Okay. Broom.
Got it. Okay. Other. And the individual's name was Travis?
Yeah, Travis Warren.
Hearth says to Travis, if we see one, word will not be needed to be left. I shall send for you.
Much appreciated.
Interesting. You know the sending.
And Hearth looks at you, Ben, and says, I do.
I will need. Yeah, I'm working on that one. I will need you to show me a few things. It's not a incantation I've mastered yet. This is
I
helpful.
will be happy to.
He just keeps. You see him keep shaping this piece of wood, and once he gets all the limbs trimmed off of it, you see him bend it. He bends it, tests the tensile strength of it, puts it back, starts like carving it down some more.
Creating a snare. Interesting. Okay, well,
It can also be a hat.
Tell you what, you fellas, you seem nice. I don't know why you're in these woods unless you got a particular reason, but you say you're hunting ogres.
we were. It was a successful hunt.
Oh, giants aren't gonna be too happy, but and nobody's warned you. Just watch out, especially at night.
What we have heard.
More than just the night howlers out there.
I believe it.
If you see a big shadow cover the sky, start running.
A winged shadow?
I don't know. I've heard stories, but
No.
people talk about the shadow over Providence, and just you see one, just run.
Noted.
A lot of people go missing here. They go missing. He gets drawn into this as he's talking. A lot of people, for some reason, stop caring that the person's gone.
That's unfortunate. This whole island is awful.
Good place to live, actually. Very nice people. It's just strange. They're very apathetic to certain things. Turn a blind eye. Things that normal people would be concerned about.
What do you know of the monastery in the mountains?
Oh, the Dust Eaters?
Yes.
Nice folk. I haven't been up there. I've dealt with them very rarely. Try to keep the creatures that I hunt, they don't really like the cold, so I don't really go up there. It's cold. I mean, it's colder than a hag's teat up there. If you know what I mean.
No, I can't say I do, but okay.
I've seen once you get to a certain line up there, it's just winter smacks you, and it's like that year round. Like you'll be walking in a forest as pretty as this, and 5 feet later you'll be in a 5 foot, 6 foot snowdrift. I'm talking cold, like cold, chill you to the bone and soul cold. There's some tough people that live up there. The ice farmers, the giants, the dust eaters, they all kind of get along.
Does
Do we
that
wanna
not
ask more
sound
about the Dust
super?
Eaters?
Does that not sound super ominous to anyone else?
Certainly does.
Calm down, Ben. Eyes on the prize. Okay. Thank you for your time. We hope we see you again. Have a good day.
What were you asking about the monastery? Just curious.
Yeah.
That ominous feeling in the back of your gut. You know?
Oh no, I don't feel that here.
That it could just be my own paranoia. That's okay. We are headed back to Kingsport, actually. But
Well, have fun. Just remember,
nighttime.
little golden rodent-like creature with 6 legs. We call Travis.
We can do so.
So as we go to move forward, Bill, I'm gonna like keep a look around, but I'm especially going to look for this creature. And I'm gonna like put like 2 coins in one of like my 4 pouches and like put it like high enough on my hip I will be able to feel it.
Now, Bill has introduced an obsession to Trish that she's going to find this for a break.
Yeah.
Hey, they are a D&D monster from 2nd edition.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
So Ben is inclined to keep going. If everyone else is,
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to.
Yep.
I want to get back to that magic shop.
Give me another. After this encounter, give me another survival
Okay.
direction sense, since that one was so low.
Yes, it was.
Is anybody going to help him?
I will. I should have made the roll myself.
Okay.
22.
24 cumulative.
All right. So, over the course of the following day, Oliver picks back up the trail with the help of Earth. You guys travel out of the woods, and eventually, you come to the outskirts of Sorrowbend, where your initial destination came, the farming community in the valley. And you see night, it's starting to get low. It's getting evening, as by the time you make it to the edge of this.
If we have time to swing by Bert's and just let him know, and then head back to the center of town, or even stay at Bert's, whatever is appropriate for the party.
By the time you circle back and you do get to where you find the Greenskin Ranch, which is on this side of Sorrowbend, it would be on full evening. The ranch is pretty much getting ready for its end of the day work. They're putting horses away, mucking stables, all that fun stuff. So here you are on the outside, on the outskirts of Greenskin Ranch. What do you want to do?
I think it was Killian and Oliver that led the charge on this particular conversation last time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll talk to him. Is he around?
You guys make it up to the front porch without pretty much any of them noticing you, or really those that do, they're more curious about the work that they're doing than individuals walking up to the house. But you notice a couple of younger half-orcs and a couple of human children kind of playing around the porch, but you don't really notice Bert.
I imagine at some point one of the kids will like look at me. I want to ask. I'll ask him to go get Bert.
So you start hearing the squeaky wheels of wheelchairs. The double doors of this rather nice house opens up, and Bert comes rolling out. Individual you've seen before, but half work gentleman, nicely cut beard, white gentle shirt,
Well met, Bert.
shotgun laying across his wheelchair. Hey, wow, imagine that.
We took
Came back.
care of the giants. Or the ogres.
Yeah, they won't be causing you problems anymore.
I guess that's good.
I was expecting I don't know, a little more excitement than that, I suppose.
I mean, it's what it is, I mean, they didn't bother us too bad. I mean, I said they were a nuisance, but my boys took care of the most part. They only took one or two of us a season, so.
I want to get off this island.
In a small community such as this, that sounds like a real problem, and we're glad to have taken care of it for you.
He kind of notices, wow, you guys are growing in number. That gentleman beside you, that's some really nice armor, friend.
Thank you.
Might we avail ourselves to a stall in your barn for the evening, and then be on our way in the morning? Bill, can you bring your microphone closer to your mouth?
Tell you what, we don't have room in the stall, but
Just a roof overhead of any kind would be lovely. The porch would be lovely.
how about the guest house?
That sounds right fine.
Yes.
You're welcome to it. It doesn't get used very often, but right behind looks like a smaller version of this one. Hey, we'll send some food out to you, and I guess thank you for the ogres. I mean, it'll help out some, but like I said, it wasn't really a big deal. But you guys wanted to go risk your lives to go.
It is what my people do. We protect the little folk.
Well, thank you kindly.
He looked at one of the kids. He goes, "Adam, go take him and show him the house." And you see this little half-orc boy jumps up and says, "All right, Pa. Come on, y'all." He comes running by and he kind of smacks Oliver on the arm, and you hear the ding. Or not Oliver,
Hearth is
but
going.
Hearth. Smacks Hearth on the arm.
Hearth is going. Oh, when that happens, Hearth says, "I would be glad to come with you. Go on ahead, and I'll see if I can catch up. And I'm going to talk to Bert for a moment."
Ben's already
Say,
gone.
Yeah, that's fine.
Larissa kind of leaves Paul's Ben.
It seems that you are not that disturbed by the ogres. However, you should know that among their number and leading them was something quite different and with far more nefarious intent. I would be aware of things in the area and a little more defensive of your people.
He kind of tugs a little bit of his shirt. He seems to be listening, but your words almost don't reach him. He goes, "Well, that don't beat all. That's right interesting. You said that. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about."
Hearth just nods and walks away. Crunch, 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 crunch.
Is there like a couch and table and everything in the guest house?
You guys are coming in. The little boy opens up the door. He goes, "Now, I do apologize. We don't really get a lot of guests, so the guest house isn't really made up for guests." And he kind of opens the door for you. It's like it's dusty in here, and everything's kind of covered up, and you see what possibly was once a really nice guest house, but the furniture's still covered in like white sheet, and the whole place been wrapped up in storage. It smells of just dust and like old. And he's like, I typically play in here, so I do apologize. And as he says that, you notice like there's drawings on the wall.
What are the drawings of? Just kid scribbles, or do they look?
It's kid scribbles, like him, as a kid with a sword. Obviously a female, figure because they're way too big.
Little kid drawings. Very well. This
one that says they're coming to get you, Barbara. No.
this will do fine, thank you.
Welcome. I'll bring you something to eat from the kitchen.
I'm gonna look up and find like a lantern or something in the space, and then just reach up and cast light on the inside of it. Let that boom up so it doesn't look too odd. Let's look at the couch.
Find 2 or 3 empty bedrooms. It's a small house compared to the big one. But you can stay here comfortably.
I'll pull a sheet off a couch and prestidigitate away any other dust as I sit down and put my feet up, and I just wait for the rest of the party. Tenants and sitting on the other side of the room staring daggers at me.
So Hearth eventually joins you.
I'd followed you down to where you were going, so...
I want to get off this fucking island.
The sooner the better.
And I'm
I
gonna...
wonder what that gold creature could be useful for.
I don't even...
Finding and eating gold, I assume.
I wonder if you could feed it, and if it would just let you take the gold while it's eating.
Does anyone else feel like the entire time we've been on this island, only 2 people have been completely honest with us the entire time? That creepy old man in the woods and the priest in the temple.
I don't know. I feel like the shopkeeper was more or less honest with us as well.
Okay, 3. Yeah.
Yes.
But everyone else is clouded by this.
They seem to think that this place is some type of paradise where it surely is not.
I'm still not certain we don't have to go up that mountain eventually. But I could use a sleep, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yes.
Then I'll take out his tarot deck and pull up the monk card. Are you a warning? Or a prophecy? I'll shuffle it back in and stick the deck back in his coat.
Killian says maybe it's just a card.
Maybe. But if I get this spell worked out, it could be even more.
Eventually, you guys hear.
Yes, come in.
One of the branch hands comes in. got a crossbow slung over his shoulder, and he's got a sword coming out the other side. He goes, Bert wanted me to let y'all know that we do rounds around the ranch at night, and said, Bert wanted me to tell you can relax. We got you covered. Yes.
Are you on rounds right now? I guess.
Yeah.
So armed as you are.
Yeah. We tend to swap up. I'll sleep tomorrow, and I'm on all night.
Well,
Well,
if you need
go ahead.
anything, please don't hesitate to ask. We are quite capable ourselves.
You'll if you need anything, you'll find a dinner bell or something that we ring out here in the country over in the kitchen area. If you need anything, you give that thing a big old hit, and I'll come out.
Be aware, we've been there's like a shadow creature, some kind of shadow dog that's been tracking us past 2 nights. So
Those from time to time. It doesn't come anywhere near the settlement.
just wanted to let you know.
That'll be fine. It's no big deal. Nothing to worry about.
Thank you for your reassurances.
Can
I feel so comfortable.
Can I do an insight check on him?
You can do whatever you want.
I have a feeling like they know more about these creatures than I think he knows. But that's a dirty 20.
Feeling out his emotion, and this guy is completely honest. Or he feels he's being completely honest when he tells you that it's nothing to worry about.
Okay. Do you know why it doesn't come near the settlement?
It comes near the settlement sometimes. It just doesn't stay long. There's nothing to worry about.
It doesn't hurt anybody?
I didn't say that.
Just nothing to worry about.
He's got it.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Walks off.
Ben's kind of rolling his ring back and forth and thinking about the Book of Ivan.
I mean, he seemed honest. He seemed like he truly believed that there was nothing to worry about, but
Belief is a dangerous thing. Very dangerous.
does something feel off about the settlement? Like,
Yes, very much.
I mean,
Not just the settlement, the whole island.
it's like a great idea that all these things that are hunted by the church are living in one place, and yeah, that would be amazing if it was the way it was. But here we have the lead of this ranch telling us, oh, it doesn't matter, they pick us off 1 or 2 a season, and then acts like what we did was no big deal and it wasn't needed, and then there's these dogs, and then this person says there's nothing to worry about, but it hurts people.
I made mention of the creature that we found within the cave, and Bert did not seem at all troubled by this. In fact, seemed even less concerned than the ogres. I do not trust this place. We must find what is happening here and try to amend it if we can.
But the common, townsfolk, they seemed worried about it. Talk.
Well, honestly, did we talk to any of the townsfolk that said they were worried about the ogres? I thought it was the We heard in
We got a
Kingsport.
bot in chat.
Okay.
We heard in Kingsport that there were ogre troubles up here, but then I feel like Bert was the only person we talked to besides the first place that the orchard that we saw the ogres.
I don't think because with Abigail and her family, they were so.
We had different issues to deal with there.
Yeah, it was just so different.
Yeah, I honestly don't think the ogres were talked about a whole lot besides Bert.
Right. And
We just experienced them when we got here and then decided to follow up with it.
Yeah. And then what I heard when I was walking in and around the town.
Yeah.
Like the worshippers of the fallen gods were deep. Was the monastery called the Temple of Storm?
I think no. I think the Temple of Storm is where we went to talk to the priest.
Okay.
Is that right?
I think so.
Temple of the Storm Lord was where you talked to the priest.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And you got rid of that affliction that both you and Ben were suffering from.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Bill, what?
Whenever you're done with that, come back to Ben.
And the monastery was called the Dust Monastery. And what were you going to say, Gabe?
Thinking about the weird things going on this island, thinking about the Shadow Hounds and the kind of lethargy or lack of concern about it all. Apathy is the word I'm looking for. As Ben's been rolling his ring back and forth, it will flash briefly as he uses one of the charges of the Ring of Ivan. And I would like to dig into my forbidden knowledge and search within what I know of Yog-Sothory to see if anything rings a bell with the hounds and the effect over the island in general.
Something from that era of time where that involves with those creatures? Not really. But the general, there are creatures throughout. If you want more detail, you can go ahead and make a roll.
I do.
But, yeah, go ahead.
23.
If you're looking for a specific creature
Not
that could cause this,
Okay.
well, go ahead and finish your sentence.
Ben is specifically looking for what could cause, like, this distortion in human concern. Like, yeah, you've got the monastery, you've got, these shadow creatures. It's like, okay, so we're close to a rift in to the shadow plane from what Ben is gathering. But a cause or either creature or effect that could cause this entire sphere, the island itself. Like, there are creatures worshipping this thing in the ocean. There's a cult rising. We're close to the shadow plane. The Shadowfell, rather. Like, all of this coming together, there's got to be a focal point. There's got to be a lodestone. And so if that's a creature or an effect or a curse or something like that, that's what Ben is trying to search out. Just from what he knows thus far. And his own academic research and time dealing with forbidden knowledge.
With what you rolled and your knowledge of that, could something on this island be causing a general malaise or feeling of apathy towards certain things, yeah.
And
Or a entropy of emotion.
yeah, that's a good way to word it.
Hearth speaks up to the room.
Oh man, he's talking to rooms now. Fuck, guys.
I picture this like little alert coming from him. It's like message incoming.
Yeah. I don't. Can it be possible that a creature is? I don't know anything about that. Hold on. No.
Okay, Alexa. I'm not sure I can answer that.
No. Hearth says to the room, was I correct in hearing something about a hag reaching into the dreams of people on this island?
Yes.
Yes.
Closer to Kingsport, but yes.
From what we understood, she leaves the people from the island alone, and it's the travelers like us that she feeds on. I suppose. It seemed to me like some kind of, I don't know. She's protecting her domain. She doesn't like new people.
And who did you hear this information from?
A priest.
Some of the information was from the priest. Other parts of it were mostly my speculation.
I see. Well, should we make our way down to the ruins, we could find out if there was any remnants of power or rift or
I've been
there.
I've been hoping to examine those ruins since we got here, so that's where I'd like to go.
We have to pass through this town and another day's travel and another larger settlement, and then another day beyond that. So we're several days away regardless, unless you know how to fly.
The only means I had to do that, you saw what is left of it.
Fair enough.
Basically, during this conversation, there's a knock at the door, and you see an older human female come walking in with a tray of various different pieces of hard food, breads, cheeses, things like that. Nothing really cooked. She says, "Hi, Bert sent me in here to bring you something. If you want something warm, I'll have to start the stove back up, but this is what we got."
That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
This will be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
What?
You guys want some mashed liquor? I can bring you a bottle of that.
Actually, we have some apple smack from one of your neighbors.
Oh, okay.
Would you like some?
Taken care of. No.
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 Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah. While you were here, we were talking to them about these shadow dog creatures that we saw kind of running about. Have you seen them?
I don't know what you're talking about, ma'am. I don't really deal with stuff like that. The boys deal with any creatures that come into town, but
That's all right now, miss. You just leave the food there on the table, and we thank you.
Yep. Nothing I would concern myself with. Usually stuff like that's nothing to worry about.
Oh man, this is getting creepy. I don't like this.
So, is it nothing to worry about because of the boys?
You look generally confused when you ask that question. But yeah, They usually take care of things.
Huh. Well, I'm glad that you found a place that was so safe. Where I come from, it's not so safe.
Nowhere's 100% safe, but you get what you can take, and this place, it's home, and it's the most peace we've ever seen. And what troubles we do have is, like I said, it's just nothing to worry about.
Ben immediately
It's
starts
better.
moving furniture to the side in preparation of casting the dome.
So it does have to be better than some of the other things out there.
If you need anything, just come knock at the back door, and I'm usually up for a couple more hours.
Okay, I'm gonna look at her one more time. Can I roll an insight check?
Yeah.
As this conversation's going on, Oliver also reaches into his pouch and, kind of feeling ill at ease, accomplished this thing in the mountains that he's supposed to do. That's his job, and yet there's this sense of ill at ease, and he will roll the bones as well.
I got a 20. I got a 25.
With your insight, you're typically he's very confused with your questions. Like, she did not know how to answer them. It's not that she's wanting to lie or hide anything. It's just you very much confused her. Like, you asked her questions no one's ever asked her.
Okay.
What'd you roll, Gabe? Sorry.
Oliver rolls the bones and will briefly focus a rage so that he can see his ancestors, because he feels ill at ease with the lack of feeling of accomplishment and appreciation for doing this thing that is what he and his people do.
What'd you roll on the 100?
61.
61. As you roll these bones, you feel this ill temper of lack of appreciation for protecting people, which is what Oliver's ancestors have done as far as their tribe can remember. In this sense that the danger's not path. You don't feel when you stared at the mountain like being stalked, but you feel as if not you, not Oliver directly, but you feel like it's not a focus, but someone in your company is in danger.
Oliver's vision focuses back up and he looks over everyone, and I'm going to look around, and he will go and walk the exterior of the house and check all the rooms, and
He doesn't really find anything.
additionally, one by one, each of you hear in your head a very elevated version of Ben's voice saying the same thing to each of you. There is something on this island controlling or focusing this malaise, this apathy, and I do not trust it to speak out loud anymore. But I do not feel safe, and I will be casting our protective dome this evening.
Fine by me.
I'm gonna respond back and be like, did you notice that does it seem like it's only here?
No.
I think you might just be it's been a while since we've been in Kingsport, and we weren't looking for something like this. But now that we know it exists, we're seeing it much clearer.
It has been just out once the dome is up and we are within. It has been everywhere. This entire cursed island.
It just feels like the people in actual town, like they knew it was a problem. They knew like the dreams were a problem.
I don't think they did. You can.
In fact, they knew about the dreams, but they told us that it only happened to travelers. Maybe it still is happening to them, and they've just
unaware.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they tell that kind of like a tale to their children,
like a boogeyman or something.
Yeah, like a boogeyman.
Killian, you saw this creature with the eyes and tentacles, correct?
I'd rather not remember that, but yeah, I saw it.
Can you describe in as much detail as you can what you saw?
I will do that to the best of my ability. Bill, do you want me to make a check for that, or?
Since it basically happened 2 days ago in the bottom of the well, or several days ago.
Yeah.
I forget how long you guys were in the forest on the way to the ogre camp.
It's been 3 days since the well.
Because I remember the only reason it took more than a day to get to the ogre camp is because you guys rolled poorly getting there. You rolled really well coming home.
Yeah.
Or coming back, so. Several tentacles coming out of an elongated head. You didn't really see you saw more of a shadowy figure on a background. The most pronounced was the thick, lidded eye.
6
in a row. 3 on each side.
Okay, so yeah, I will relate all that information to you.
And so pull out the sketch that I took of the effigy in the ogre cave. Looks pretty much the same.
You could convince yourself it was the same thing.
Well, I will sketch as he's describing the monster. I'll sketch in my notebook and then take those 2 images and put them side by side. Ben is not an artist, but just
it's a stick figure with 6 eyes.
It's not that bad, but
is this what you saw?
more like a
just like that, Ben. Just like that.
Kind of like a softened, elongated diamond kind of shape with the eyes and this thing, whatever it is a big piece of the puzzle.
I think so too. So do we want to go to the ruins next, or do we want to investigate that hag? They're both in the same direction. They're both towards Kingsport.
I think we have a day to make up that mind. It will take us a day to get to Kingsport, even if we stop at that shop, if they're still there. And we should rest there. We have rooms. And make up our mind from there.
Bill, I'm gonna pull out that statue
Okay.
that Ben gave me.
Okay.
I'm not opening my mind to it. I'm just gonna kind of like look at its like features again, because Trish forgot what it looks like. I'm gonna look at its features again and just kind of like glance it over.
Now, the figure that you saved, Gabriel, because you mentioned 2. You mentioned there was one figure That was a hooded figure that no matter how you turned the figure, you could see pierce the darkness within the hood.
Creepy.
And then there was a figure that had many different faces.
The one that I had was the one Larissa was carrying around.
Then that would have been the one that you couldn't pierce the hood. So it's a Reaper-esque, like, image of death, as it were. Basalt figurine. Dark purplish, almost black in coloring that found in Dreamlands, Larissa. You remember this one because it was being carried by the Kuatoa and the sewers underneath Uthar. It's a hooded figure that is carved, and inside the cowl of the death's head, you should be able to see a carving of whatnot. But no matter how you turn the figure, you can't see past the darkness within within the head of it. And then it has nothing within its foot.
Spoopy.
Does it, I mean, just holding it and looking at it, does it give me any type of weird feeling, or?
Yeah, creepy as shit.
Well, besides it being creepy because of what it looks like.
Does it feel like it has any attachment to what's going on now?
Mm-hmm. Does it feel like it has any attachment to the yellow robe figure?
Possibly.
Can I roll something to check?
Going off of feeling and...
I'm going off of feeling and what I know from my notes and...
Roll me an insight.
Mm-hmm. That's a 27.
Wow.
They could be one of the same, different representations of the same thing.
Can I tell if this is why it's been following me?
That you probably can't
know. Roth, Ben.
Uh-huh.
I think this statue that Ben gave me, it might be. I have a feeling. It feels like it's attached to the yellow figure. Is there a way to tell if this is why it's following me?
We can check it for magic and
It's
the like.
It's not magical. It was a mundane item. But as I mentioned earlier, to Hearth, symbols have their own power.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let me try something.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on the floor or wherever between me and you or stuff. I don't want to touch it.
If this does not survive, are you okay with that?
I hold no attachment to it.
Okay. Bringing my hands together and rubbing my hands, it's almost as if dust filters out beneath my hands as I do, and I will attempt to cast Fabricate on it, using it as the raw material to change it into 100 tiny little beads in just a little circular pile.
As you focus the energies of the spell, the statue crumbles into a bunch of little beads.
It is a mundane item. We can scatter these to the wind or leave them here. Does not matter.
I think what Ben's getting at is whatever tie this creature that this person has to you, it's not from this statue.
Okay. I'm gonna pick up the beads, and in the same pouch that I put the gold, I'm gonna put the beads.
Gold that you're trying to catch a Varax with.
Yes.
So you now have a bag of ball bearings.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
So, night continue as the night continues and it grows darker. On occasion, you do see a lantern pass by one of the windows. It's almost, you can almost time it.
Everybody should get some rest, but I think while you start resting, I might stay up and just make sure. I know the dome protects us and we're in here and they say they're on guard, but I'm gonna say, like, in my head, like, or out loud, I'm gonna say I would feel better if I just watch for a couple hours.
I will be conscious all evening if that helps you.
That is not creepy
1 or
at all.
2.
I was gonna say.
1 or 2 hours won't hurt my rest if I stay up. But I would always appreciate the company.
Before he goes to bed, Ben will take out his deck and as he's experimenting with this.
You can't just whip your deck out at the end of the night, Gabe. It's not.
It's a good deck pick.
I feel bad for our close friend David, who just had a deck built at his house and sent Gabriel and I pictures. I'm like, stop sending us deck pics.
And as I'm kind of experimenting with it and researching,
Playing with your deck.
a new spell, I will draw 3 cards. And in order, it is
Old Maid.
What's that?
Old Maid.
Yeah. Go fish. I draw the Undead, the Wild Oracle, and the Monstrosity. And just kind of look at them and shake my head, shuffle them back in.
Hey, so Larissa said she wants to stay up. So I guess, are you taking the first 2 watches or the first watch, or?
I just wanted to take, like, 1 watch. Just one watch. So
By yourself?
Hearth said he was going to stay up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Larissa's volunteered to take the first watch.
And like I said, no one else has to do it if you feel safe.
I do not feel safe. I will take last.
I'm already snoring.
Yeah.
As Oliver and Oliver, Ben, and Roth lay down and Earth powers down, what do you do?
I am going to stay as close to being in the dome as I can, but I'm going to walk around, keep an eye out, try to keep an ear out for what they're doing outside to see if I can hear anything. And just be very hyperly focused.
It's quiet every now and again. Every 45 minutes or so, you hear footsteps outside, accompanied by a lamp. About the second time this happens, you start hearing the sounds of rocking. Look, you see a rocking chair on the other side of the living space from where you guys are, kind of slowly rocking on its own.
Creepy.
I'm gonna kind of go to that edge of the dome, like not step on anybody, and just kind of like stare at it for a second, just to see if I can see any like footprints on the floor where it's rocking, or see like if any type of wind looks like it might be brushing against something.
You don't see anything, but you hear a gong noise, a deep guttural bell that chimes once, and you notice as you turn, underneath one of the sheets is obviously a clock that's covered. You can hear it now. And as you turn and you look back, there's a yellow robed figure sitting in the chair, rocking.
Spoopy.
Seems like me and you are doing this more frequently.
Ted,
Once again, what do you want?
waves its hands over its eyes, points at its two eyes, points at your left shoulder.
Again? So I'm actually going to look at my shoulder. Is there anything different?
Anything.
What?
You don't see anything. Earth, you witnessing this, you don't see anything, but you do hear the clock, and you do see the rocking chair rock.
And obviously hear her talking. So, yeah, I'm going to
Am I...
power back up.
Are we safe here?
Rugs.
Are you wanting my heart?
And it cocks its head at that.
Just gonna like intently like kind of stare at it. Once again, I'm gonna look instead of like looking at my shoulder, I'm gonna look over my left shoulder. Anything there?
You don't see anything, but when you look back, no.
He's gone. Once again, just completely shaken. Like, can't figure it out. Just visibly shaken.
Hearth just says, "Are you all right?"
Yes, I'm not sure what it wants.
I am sure that is troubling for you.
It keeps pointing at my left shoulder, but then I even asked it if it wanted, or over my left shoulder. And I even asked it if it wanted my heart, or it just didn't really seem too interested.
When did it first start appearing to you?
When I got back from the dreamlands.
So you carried something with you from the other side.
Not intentionally, but Ben took a statue I had dropped, meant to leave it in the dreamlands, and that's what these beads are.
It seems it is traveling over via a connection in the dreamlands. At least to me.
He seems to have come more while we are here, which unsettles me about this place more than anything else. He's only appeared to me very infrequently for seconds at a time, and this has been every night.
I myself am puzzled at the nature of what sent me here, and seeming that the importance may have been more than I or any of my comrades ages ago understood. Perhaps there is a connection between all of it.
Maybe if we can help you figure out or try to solve what they sent you here for, we can figure out everything else.
Perhaps. That would be a pleasant resolution if there is one to be found. However, my purpose will reveal itself just as any other beings.
That is true. Thank you for indulging me once again.
Of course.
And I'm going to wake up Oliver. Not me.
Yes.
Were you going to take the next watch? Or were you wanting to sleep?
I can.
I just picture Oliver waking up and saying, "No, Walrus, that's my pancake." Cannon.
You say,
I hope Jacob watches.
watches this.
He's gonna have to at this point.
Yeah. I'm gonna say every hour and a half, they rotate and see the light. That clock went off for no reason, just once. But besides that, everything seems okay.
He nods quietly, pats your shoulder, and rises up from his bedroll.
I go and fall asleep.
I'm just with Hearth looking over everyone like as they sleep. I'm waiting for him to be like, "You need to see a doctor. You stop breathing. You might have sleep apnea. I have made you an appointment."
Oxygen level 80%.
Oliver's not gonna do anything in particular during his shift, other than kind of contemplate the danger sense that he has pulled here recently, and kind of contemplate that, and just keep an eye out during his watch.
Other than the lantern that passes every 45 minutes or so, nothing eventful happens. So unless you guys want to roleplay something specific on your watches, we'll go ahead and move forward.
Yeah,
I'm good.
fine.
I'm good.
Go for it.
I fully expected you to say 2 of you disappear in the night, but it's nothing to worry about.
Oh yeah. A hand comes and reaches over your mouth and takes you away, but it's nothing to worry about.
Gabriel in your character, but it's nothing to worry about.
You feel completely fine about the whole situation. Oliver is gone.
You wake up and there's a grass snoozing in the field. That's nothing to worry about. Don't worry about that.
No, we just finished that campaign.
So the next morning you awake. Day is yours.
I would like to get out of this town as quickly as possible. I would be lying if I did not say that the chance to go to those strange kobolds and their shop is not part of that, but I would like to leave.
Alright, let's just go.
Additionally, one thing Ben did want to do during his watch at the end was sort through the bag of precious gems that he has and pull out anything that was a pearl that could be used for a spellcasting component. And totally fine if there aren't any. That's the only thing he would have done.
Let's leave it up to chance.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
With enough value, he uses spellcasting component. So the following morning, Bert and members of the family or the ranch that you've met so far wish you goodbye. You're actually packed a small bag of provisions, salted pork, meat, such. Take with you
Wonderful.
as you leave the ranch. Now, are you going to go through the center of town, or are you actually going to avoid the town altogether because you're saying you wanted to get out of town?
Ben is inclined to avoid it.
I'm inclined to agree with Ben.
It might take a little longer.
How much longer?
Depends on your rolls.
So when we traveled from Kingsport to Saraben, it took us a day, and that included stopping at the temple and at the shop. So kind of backtracking that in my mind, it was...
We're also traveling on the road.
Yeah. So backtracking that in Ben's mind, if we can get... What would be the fastest way to just get to the main road? Could be cut...
Well, part of... if you remember the way Sarobin was laid out, the main road comes to the hub of Sarobin, where you had a couple of farmhouses, one that kind of acted like a general goods shop. That's where the main road leads. If you want to go all the way around and reconnect to the main road, we're going to have some rolls to see if you guys get lost.
Okay.
If you want to follow the road, however, it will be quicker.
I really don't want to go through that town, but I would like to go as quickly as possible.
Sounds like we're going through the town.
All right,
just
then.
go in and go out.
Yeah. Head through the town.
Yep.
So, heading through this town in this farming community early in the morning, you see various people at work. A lot of smiling, friendly faces as they wave to you. A lot of people walking their cows, a lot of people with horses, getting produce out in the carts. Nothing really out of the ordinary. This seems like
nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about.
Okay, yeah, booking it. I don't want to be here. Ben, ironically, felt safer trapped in the Dreamlands than he does right now.
And eventually, within an hour or so, you guys make it onto the outskirts of Thoroughbed.
As much as I would like to stop and do research or anything, we need to get out of this place.
I suggest we just keep going, like, straight through. Just, like, rest if it's the end of the night, but... Let's just get to the ruins or where we're going.
The kobolds and their teepee was along the way, and then the temple, and then...
Kobolds and their toilet paper?
Yeah. And then the town. So I would like to stop in both of those places regardless. So I say we make as good a time as we can.
So, as you guys walk, I need, as you're walking down this main road, I need someone to roll me a d20.
I got it.
Do it.
A 12.
Oh. Okay. As you're walking, it's a light shower.
Sorry.
As you start hearing the rain dink, 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 dink off of Earth. And it's very interesting as some of it hits his chest, it almost sizzles. The ever light.
Just keep on going, I guess. Rain didn't kill anybody.
Yeah. Ben's
About
just gonna keep moving.
About midday, you guys pass several people heading to Sorrow Bend. Mostly farmers. A couple look like hunters that have fresh kills, rabbits, and one had a deer slung up over his shoulder. You have simple conversations, nothing really important, nothing to worry about. And eventually, on the road ahead, start hearing yelling and crying.
Well, we're continuing that way, so.
Yeah. Can I tell what they're saying?
Oh, I just got a message. Sure. We've had a request for a quick bio break, so real quick, I can do one myself. Let's have a quick bio break.
Sure.
Okay. Be right back to finish up this episode. And we are back.
Apologize for that. I think a couple of us, our back teeth were floating. On that note, heading down the road, you guys start hearing crying and screaming.
There we go.
I was
Hearth
trying to
hates those
figure
sounds.
out what they were saying.
Like coherent words, but since you're heading that direction and the slog in this weather as the parts of the road starts turning to mud, you start noticing bits of paper mixed in with the mud, parchment.
I'm gonna pick one up.
You see the makings of a story someone was writing.
Are they just everywhere?
Yeah, they're just everywhere, but it seems like a lot of stuff is marked out. You see someone's like, once upon a time, scratched out. Once upon a rhyme, no, scratched out. And just everywhere.
I'm going to try and get to the source of the sound.
As
Quick.
you come around, you see a small figure, nicely dressed, sitting on a stump, just throwing stuff out of a bag, screaming, and just amongst the screaming boo-hoos.
As we're
What
walking,
in the world?
I'm gonna turn to Killian right before you get up there and go, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
What's the problem?
I just... It's like, you see on Ben's face, he has no idea how to handle someone who's emotional.
Oh, so he's me.
He's channeling his inner Bill.
It's all right. I'll take care of it.
Hitting off a broom from a distance. They're there.
I apologize for intruding upon your solitude, but what is causing you this distress?
Looking up from their hands, which they had their faith in their hands, you see this young, kind of attractive halfling girl with curly blonde hair coming out from under a beret, and she says, "I'm ruined."
How so?
I don't think that's true. You look just fine.
I was supposed to be famous. I was supposed to be known throughout the land. It's Alexia the Quillheart. I was gonna have all these stories, and I can't think of any. You're gonna call me Inkless. Just know it. And she just starts boo-hooing back into her hand.
Oh, no. And Ben just kind of keeps walking down the down the road.
Now, let me get this straight. You want to be a storyteller?
She looks at you, and she looks very offended. And she says, "Excuse me, sir. I am a storyteller."
Oh man. Okay.
And suddenly everybody's like, Ben had the right idea.
My apologies. You and you said your name was
Alexia the Quillheart. I have traveled all over the land. I have performed in Evernight. I have performed in God's Home. I've performed in Vandalheim itself.
well. Forgive me for being. Sorry. Do I recognize her name at all? Do I? Have I heard? No. Okay. Good. Like, forgive me for being a bit uncivilized, I suppose. All of the best storytellers that I know of, which being uncivilized as I am, may not be very many. They all have good source material. They follow around people of notable stature. They
That's what I tried to do. It's like people of my profession, they said, go out, make adventures, make stories yourself. And I hopped on the first boat, and it brought me here, where nothing is going on.
Yep, you're right about that. Absolutely nothing.
Yep. Nothing.
She can insight me if she wants to catch the sarcasm on that.
Hearth speaks up and says,
Ben is 100 feet down the road right now.
Hearth speaks up.
I think a storyteller of clearly your passion would understand that even under a veneer of solitude and quiet, there can be many great undercurrents rolling. Have you stopped to consider that maybe in some parts, perhaps on this island itself, that although all seems quiet, there may be a great unrest or danger underneath it all?
Stop. Roll me a persuasion real quick.
Okay, go gladly. That is a 10.
Doesn't really read her. She seems to listen for a second, but she just continues to wallow in her own self-pity.
I think what my friend Hearth here is trying to say is sometimes you need to look a little deeper at a situation. Sometimes there are things that go unseen, and things are more complicated than you might at first believe. And I give her a significant look. Can I make a persuasion check?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of all my looks, this is the significant one.
Okay, that's a 16.
I just give her the smolder.
Blue steel.
No blue steel here.
Just Latigra.
Yeah. We're gonna downgrade it. I couldn't remember the name of.
Gas fight.
And a freak gas fight accident.
Freak gasoline fight accident.
So, as you start saying this, what Hearst says just goes completely over her head. She seems more interested in feeling sorry for herself. But as Ross says what he says, you see, she's like, so what you're saying is that there needs to be a deeper narrative from the original story.
Yeah.
Okay. Like there's something underlying and foreshadowing what's really going on. You see,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Like some kind of ancient creature with multiple eyes or something. Just something. I'm just speculating. I don't know.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. And you see her start pulling out. She's like, "Oh, it's raining." She pulls her hat off and she starts quilling under her hat.
I walk over her and I put my finger up, and then you see, I'm using prestidigitation. You just see the rain. I'm basically making like an umbrella above her, but like it's transparent.
She's like, "Oh, thank you." And she starts scribbling on a piece of paper. And there they found themselves on an island with a mysterious-like creature. I think I've got this. I think I can get this. Thank you. Maybe I'm not out of stories yet.
Perhaps not. I'm sure next time we meet, I'll have heard of you.
What?
Shade.
Like,
Very well.
Thank you. I've got to get to work. And she just starts gathering up her notes that are scattered all over the ground and so taking the water off.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go now, and I'm gonna take my umbrella with me.
Good journeys to you. And Hearth just walks away.
Well met. I say to Hearth, like kind of.
Well, a solution was found. Whether she will stick with it is up to her.
was
Just
goofy.
keep going.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm with Ben. I'm like, I just look.
Hey,
Random encounters are monsters.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's
No,
great.
it was lovely.
It was
I'm
great.
sticking with Ben. No.
Nice. Sometimes you guys come across an androsphinx in the desert that wants to cuddle.
Ben was down for that one.
So,
Whenever you catch up to Ben is like under a tree or a rock outcropping or something in the distance, just impatient as shit, tapping his foot, ready to go.
I'm just
Actually,
gonna keep
the
going.
rain. By the time you guys get to Ben, who walked ahead of you guys, the rain does start letting up and the sun does come out. Over the course of most of the day, you do make it back to the edges of Kingsport.
So no kobold shop, huh?
Nope, you actually do pass where they were, and you see the outing of the tent, but they have pulled up stakes and moved.
Shit. And the temple?
What about the temple?
That was the other location of interest between the towns.
If you remember correctly, the Stormlord's temple is on the edge of town towards Sorrowbend, so you will pass by it.
Cool.
If that's the first place you want to go.
I need to make a quick stop there, at least, before we return to the inn for the night. We can return in the morning for more investigation, but I gave my word, so I intend to keep it.
You're stopping by... Where are you going first? So I know what to pull up next.
Ben would like to go to the temple, if everybody else is okay with that.
Yeah, I'm good.
Fine with that.
Okay.
Coming upon this temple that you've been to once before, if you remember, it was vandalized on the outside. Most of that has been cleaned up. The statue of the Stormlord has been set right. The scrawlings on the walls have been washed away. And you do see a familiar, loosely robed man with a graying friar's haircut that you know to be Father Waters, sweeping the steps in the front of the temple this evening.
Good eve to you, Father Waters. I have returned, as promised, with your scroll.
Oh, that's good to hear. I was thinking about you. I prayed about you all, and kind of eyes Hearth a little bit. Seems you have friend.
New companion, yes.
Yes. A pleasure to meet your acquaintance.
May we come in?
All are welcomed within the Stormlord's temple, and he pushes open the door.
Wonderful. And I'll take out the scroll case that I have and undo it and take out the scroll and hand it to him.
So you didn't find use for it then?
I did, quite actually, but per our previous discussion, returning it unmolested and still intact as a valuable treasure of the temple and I left behind another scroll as a sort of payment in case I did not return. Um, yeah, but as promised, here it is returned.
Thank you. I will put this back into the church's possessions. Forgive an old man and his your memory. What was the scroll that you left?
It was a scroll of grease.
It comes back with another scroll. I believe this is yours.
Actually, I was wondering, does this look familiar? And as I take the scroll and stick it back in the case, pull back out my sketchbook and show him the sketches of the altar and the creature that Killian described.
Handing you the scroll back, he kind of takes the book out of your hands and he sits on the edge of the fountain and kind of stares over this image for a good long time. He says, "Wow, this does look familiar."
Oh shit.
From?
In depictions of this painted on the sides of my temple.
That's what I was afraid of. This
He folds the book and he hands it back to you. He goes, "But honestly, I don't think it's something to worry about."
There was another sentence that was about to come out of Ben's mouth, and he's like, right, absolutely. We were going to try to make some communication with the new rising religious faction in the region. Do you know if they have a place you can go meet with someone, or?
He kind of looks a little disgusted. He says, "You're talking about the devouts."
Yes.
They're the ones that like to draw on the sides of my temple. Not very nice people.
Yes. So looking into that. Just, you know, one good turn deserves another. You were so generous. I would like to make sure that we can do something in return. See if we can ask them nicely not to do so again.
I've talked to the harbor master and I've talked to several people trying to get them to stop. I don't know if it's something that is in their interest. They seem very forceful when it comes to their new beliefs.
Ben's holding the notebook and he's looking at the sketch. Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing to worry about.
One second as Bill pours over his notes. You'll find them on occasion at low tide. They will be praying down at the beach.
Wonderful.
But if you have to speak to them, the captain's board, the Vice Admiral Thomas Marsh, is a member of the Devouts.
Wonderful.
He currently is out to sea, but he is a captain of the Sea's Purpose.
One more time?
The Sea's Purpose. He's currently out, though. His followers should be here, of course, and he kind of trails off a little bit when he says that, as if he had a thought that went away. Yes, they worship at low tide.
You were
on the beach.
about to say something.
Thought escaped me.
Okay.
Not sketchy at all.
May I ask you to trust me for just a moment? You see the scroll you shared with me, and I'll look around in the on the ground and make sure I've got. So I'll take some iron shavings out and spread them around, and then scoop my hands into the fountain that he has there. Assuming this is water that's been blessed. And standing in the middle of the circle, I'll throw my hands out, and it's there's like a matrix moment where everything freezes, and there's all these droplets of water frozen and shining in the air. For in a 10-foot cylinder around me and Father Waters and anybody else who's within 10 feet, I cast Magic Circle.
Okay.
And the crystal specks of water vanish as if they were never there, and in the same sparkling blue colors, line of runes around the radius of the circle, as if the iron shavings moved quickly to form the runes. And I'm 100% going out on a limb with this.
You
Do what?
choose one of the following types: celestial, elemental, fey, fiends, or undead.
Fiends.
Okay.
So remind Derek, what does Magic Circle do?
For the audience, in case a lot of people watch D&D that actually don't play D&D, you create a 10-foot, 20-foot tall cylinder of magical energy centered on a point on the ground that you can see within range. Glowing runes appear within the cylinder, intersect with the floor or other surface. Choose one or more following types of creatures: celestials, elementals, fey, fiends, or undead. The circle affects a creature of the chosen type in the following ways. The creature can't willingly enter the circle by non-magical means. If the creature tries to teleport or interplanar travel or do so, it must first succeed a charisma saving throw. The creature has disadvantage on attack rolls, and the creature within the cylinder can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed by the creature.
Gotcha. So you're basically doing this to like negate any possible influence that they might have over him or something.
So that's the goal. I really wish I didn't hate necromancy as a character. And I'll look at Hearth as I'm holding my hands out as if I've frozen in that moment of time as well. Do you have the means of restoring someone's facilities or capabilities? Either of you?
Hearth takes your question and thinks upon it for a moment.
I can end a disease, a sickness, or
a curse?
A poison, but I'm not sure if I can handle a curse. I don't think I'm that powerful.
I can remove...
AKA, I have lesser restoration, but that's about it.
I can remove a curse if it is needed. However, I do not have the ability at the moment.
What is the priest doing? How is he reacting to this?
He completely trusts Ben, and he sees he's cast the spell, and he looks around, and he's waiting.
Yeah, I told him, look at, this is the spell, this is what it looks like. I'll ask the same question to Father Waters. There is an ability often gifted by study or the divine to restore one's faculties or remove curses, things like that. Is that a capability you find yourself with?
He looks at you very confused. Why, yes, you came to me originally.
Yes. Well, sometimes you're a little more rested in a day and not, but I would like to see, I am a scholar, a student of the arcane. I would like to see how that is empowered by this circle you have given me. If you don't mind just casting that upon yourself, it is your own magic, so you know how it functions.
Use a liar.
Actually, I am telling the truth, because this is an experiment.
If I remember correctly, it involved material components that I used the last of to cast on you.
I will reach inside the bag of gems that we have. Are there 100 or 300 gold worth of diamonds, whatever it was? Ish.
I don't see.
Okay. I'll produce the diamonds.
Or what were you saying, Derek?
I just didn't see components for remove curse.
No, I'm looking at greater restoration.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
I will remove those from the bag and hold them out in my hand. And the magic around us, as it only lasts a minute, is holding, but this experiment can only take place briefly. Here you are.
He looks very confused at the whole diamonds. He says, we're supposed to use the dust of these.
Gabriel is not remembering this.
Yeah, hang on. Can I use the mending spell to
And I've already...
to dissipate them into dust?
Do I have... I don't have Fabricate today. And at this point, a minute's passing. It was worth a shot. I am a scholar. These things are so fascinating to me. And,
what about the shatter spell?
I will, because I like experimenting and using spells in a different fashion. If you want to try to use the shatter spell as a focus to crush these diamonds into dust, roll me an arcane knowledge.
Great, yeah, sure, perfect. Okay, 18?
18. You feel confident enough that you may expend a charge of your shatter spell, or spell slot, and try to shatter these diamonds to dust.
So
this is going so off the rails.
No, this is great. Here's
We're gonna have to kill this guy.
Is there...
As he's holding this very trusting old priest.
Oh my god, this is...
Okay, so I think I can help here, but I'm gonna need something. Do you have a metal shield, like a rounded shield, something like that? Anybody?
Can
Looks
find
at
you a
Hearth.
bucket.
Is it how sturdy is the bucket? No, probably not. Anything, Oliver?
Hearth offers a hand.
Perfect.
No, I think you're gonna want to keep that, friend. Shit.
I don't have anything
It's fine.
helpful here.
Hang on, I'm looking at my equipment and seeing what I can get to work here.
And by this time, the magic circle is gone.
Sorry, dude.
That's okay. It was totally off the cuff. I didn't even think about it until I was doing it.
So, okay, I need I need something that I can focus the force of this into the diamonds. So I was gonna like use the shield, fucking put the diamonds under it, and then
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of something that would work. I don't know if a bucket would do it, but I guess that's what we're gonna try. Get me the sturdiest bucket you can find, friend.
Waters walks off, and eventually he does come back with like this tin and metal bucket that is obviously is used to clean things in the church. He actually pulls the wooden horse-haired brush out of it.
I'm to the best of my ability. I'm going to take the bucket and basically like mend any like dents or like breaks in the metal, like take any rust off of it, make it as sturdy as possible, and then I'm like, excuse me for one moment, and then I walk outside with the diamonds. I put them on the ground. I take out one of my shatter grenades, twist it, it starts glowing ruins. I set it down, put the bucket back over that, and then I run back inside. And they see me like run back inside and come around the door, and I'm like up against the wall, and then they hear the shatter spell go off outside.
Okay, so you hear this explosion outside as things hit the side of the temple as this shrapnel-like tin grenade.
Speak D&D, y'all.
You start hearing in the distance a dog as this loud noise echoes in the neighborhood. As you open the door to inspect the damage, you see pieces of the bucket are like stuck in the wooden door. But
and you hear me go, ha ha, science.
Where the bucket was is a glittering mass of diamond dust.
Perfect.
I will gather that up as best as I can, using prestidigitation or whatever I need to.
Okay. So, take 2. And I will scoop my hands into the holy water and toss it up and spend another spell slot. Freeze it. And then the water swirls around and forms the runes, and then the pile of dust settles into his hands. This is so dumb. This is why did I commit to this?
So as he holds this dust, so the idea is you want me to cast the spell on you?
On yourself.
Roll a persuasion.
Oh, Jesus.
He has seen us go through all this trouble. He would feel awfully bad.
Oh, this is gonna go awfully... Okay. Whew. 18.
Alright. Is that a natural 18?
No, that's 16.
And he sprinkles the dust on himself as you just see over his eyes a yellowish flash that just goes from the center out. And just this awareness appears to...
Does it look like something leaving, or does it look like kind of his own energy?
Just his own energy, just
Okay.
a wash over him. And he looks and he says, "Hi, that's interesting."
Remembering things you thought weren't a big deal?
Never really forgot anything, but I seem to stop caring.
We need to help you with this, my friend.
Yeah.
I think we all need to have a long conversation.
Yeah.
Also, sorry about your bucket.
We'll replace
No, that's trivial compared to what I'm. Not that I'm remembering, but what I'm feeling.
it. Does this bring out more emotion now? The drawing.
The this intense anger
Oh shit.
in his face. He goes, "Yes. Yes, it does."
Then let us set you free.
And that is where we'll call it.
All right.
Yay!
Whew, man!
All right.
Thank you so much for running with me on that, Killian.
I got you. I'm there for it. I was like, shatter like really affects inorganic materials. I was like, that might work. So thanks for letting us do that, Bill.
Hearth is serious. Hearth would have held it.
I know you would, but I didn't want to do that to you.
I was waiting for for you guys to convince Hart to set on the bucket.
I
was trying to find, I was going to cast spiritual weapon and make it like a shield, but it's spectral, so I figured I would rule that to not work. So I went, but I was definitely going through my list, going, oh man, what can I?
Yes.
What can I use?
Finally feels like we're getting somewhere on this.
that felt like some stupid teenage experimentation bullshit. Let's see what happens if we do this.
That worked out.
Right
How long were you guys on this island for you realized everybody wasn't normal?
Well, you leaned into it real heavy once we started connecting dots.
I was today years old when I realized that.
Yeah, it was today years old.
Oh man!
From when we started streaming, we didn't start streaming when you guys first got the Kingsport, but that has been a running line. Whenever you ask a question, oh, that's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, and I feel dumb.
That.
Yeah,
great. It's just really nice. It's just really nice because it came about when after we did this thing that surely people would care about, and they're going, "Oh yeah, they were fine. I mean, you didn't need to kill all those ogres. I mean, we
I was
were
like,
fine."
what? They're stealing people. He's like, yeah, just 1 or 2 a season. And I'm like, yeah, what the fuck?
Your town's not that big.
All right, so my accolade is going to Bill for that slow burn, man.
That was good.
Oh my god! And the dude in the woods. Like, if it had not been for him, I don't know if I would have connected the dots.
Complete random die roll.
Oh, man.
Travis, Warren has been an NPC that you guys could have randomly run into at any time, because I've got a lot of random NPCs, because you know how I like writing my stories. It's very open.
Yeah.
It's, I write stuff you guys are never intended to get to. You're not intended to get to it all. But it's just I write to where it's the luck of the die.
I love it. So that is my accolade for tonight, man, or for today. Is to the GM. That is brilliant writing, man.
Yeah, I second that one. I would throw an accolade at Gabe for Ben's. I really like when characters use their just scour their own abilities for something that can get, that can
Thank you.
Push through. Yeah, that's
I second them both. Yeah, like Bill because of the amazing storyline, and then allowing me to explore this new background that I took. When I switched my background to the haunted one, like allowing me to play around with that a little bit, and then just his writing in general. That slow burn, I don't think, even with my Inquisitive Rogue, even with all my investigation, I didn't put it together. I wasn't putting it together. And then Gabe for Ben just being like, let's see if we can, and then, Derek Killian is like, don't worry, I got you, let's just blow this up and we can get over it. So
I'm always down for blowing shit up, always.
Yeah. Let's firecracker it. It don't matter.
My shit.
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
Well, I'm not giving Bill accolades. Fuck you, Bill.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give mine to Gabe and Larissa, or sorry, Gabe and Trish. Gabe, yeah, that last scene was great. I liked playing off of you with that, and then Larissa for the whole role play we had about like nerding out about pre-ancient Arcadian ruins and like the revealing like the stuff about your talisman and the like the man in yellow and all that. Like that was really cool to delve into. So I like that a lot.
Very much so. And Jacob is going to give his accolades to Hearth for being a rock in this very, very strange session.
Like, thank you for being the emotional support thing.
Right? You're our emotional support robot.
Wait, I told my wife the story, the really sad story. If you've never heard about the hitchhiking robot,
I don't think so.
They made a hitchhiking robot that's actually designed to work on people's kindness, and it made its way all the way across Canada, the Netherlands, and Germany. That this hitchhiking robot that
and then they tried it in the U.S.
They tried it in the U.S. and within 2 weeks it was decapitated, beat the crap out of, and left on the side of the road.
I've never read that story, but that doesn't surprise me at all. It's really sad.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
I think it made it to Detroit. Like,
Yeah.
like, oh,
Please saw my wife's heart break, and that's what Hearth is. He's just the emotional hitchhiking robot. But my accolades today is like everybody completely did amazing, especially with a man down. Jacob, we miss you. Jacob had miscommunication with his scheduling, and he was he missed. He's usually our tech guy, and Gabe's been doing an awesome job. He's been running our stream for a while, except for today. I'm not going to blame any of this on you.
I mean, I'll take it, but
no, I'm not. But
it's just not been a good day for technology for me.
I'm going to go ahead and say my accolades and my inspiration point for the next game will go to Gabriel for his portrayal of Ben this week. I kind of like everything he's done with canon and just everything that's been going on to his simple and very. I felt it within my soul because that's what Bill would have done with the nope crying woman on the side of the road. Nope, I can't emote.
Like you put Ben in front of an equation, and he's like, "Yes." You put him in front of a human, and he's like, Since I still have an inspiration point that I've been greedily hanging on to, may I pass it along?
Of course, that's what I was about to say. If you still have one, which I thought you did, you can pass it to someone else.
I actually want to pass it to Larissa. The leaning into that backstory and the roleplay that you're pulling out of that, and your interactions with the other characters becoming so much more rich because of that vulnerability that you're giving her. It's just gorgeous, and it's been wonderful to be a part of.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 2 weeks?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is the date?
I don't know. Let's play tomorrow.
I would.
The 23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2
23rd.
weeks.
Cool.
Wrong computer because I have two computers pulled
Yeah,
up.
same problem.
That would be, yes, the 23rd of January. We are a bi-weekly streaming game, so we will be back on the 23rd. Keep in mind, do we have a tentative start date for Terrain?
Do our week Tuesday evening games, wrapping up the one we just finished. We'll be starting a new story on February 2nd, so stay tuned.
And we are currently workshopping and playing around with different ideas. Forever DMs since our inception during Extra Life.
During COVID.
During COVID. We realized we do enjoy streaming, and mainly because we enjoy sharing our stories and we enjoy sharing our games with people out there that are interested. We're workshopping different ideas. Right now we currently have 2 serialized games planned going forward, both bi-weekly. We plan on different types of streaming events. Toyed around with a talk show idea. We've toyed around with doing one-shots. Just give us a follow. If you give us a subscribe. you like what you see, we're only going to do it more because we're mostly doing it for you guys, and we're doing it for us too. So if no one's watching, hey, we're doing it for us. So
I did it for me. All right.
awesome. Anyways, everyone, this is great. You guys are awesome. Those of you that are watching, you guys are awesome. So, see you guys in 2 weeks.
Woohoo.
Bye.